own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir,
of
I'm
that.
asking you a question,
no,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
It. Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So, I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly, very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always identified as a Black woman. She went to a historically Black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be, could be.
You're not a colleague, you a fucking colonizer. The family matter and the truth of the matter. It was God's plan to show y'all the liar. They not like us. 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 I see dead people.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like this. Oh, we got to go support the sister. We can get a Black woman in the White. No, you're not getting one. Her daddy says his entire background is either Caucasian Irish or Caucasian Hindu. His Irish ancestors owned a bunch of slaves, and none of his ancestors were slaves. He has a grandmother who is a dark-skinned Hindu who was a house servant. So where does Kamala get her Black ancestry, since her mother is classified as a Caucasian Tamil Hindu Brahmin caste person? They're dark-skinned, but they're known anthropologically as Indo-Aryans, I-N-D-O hyphen.
Hi, mustard on the beat, ho, Debo, any rap nigga, he a free throw, man down, call her Amber Lambs, tell him breathe, bro, nail a nigga to the cross, he walk around like Tizo. What's up with these jabroni ass niggas trying to see Compton? The industry can hate me, fuck them all and they mama. How many options you really got? I mean, it's too many options. I'm finna pass on this body, I'm John Stockton. Beat your ass and hide the Bible if God watching.
So nice. Are you stressed for making Indian food?
Oh my God, you do have to taste just, oh my, you have no idea. This is how my mother kept all of her stuff.
This is so funny. I told my dad, I was like bringing over the stuff from the store. He's like, obviously I put them in Taster's Choice.
But this literally was how my mother kept all of this stuff.
That's so funny.
What is that?
Do they tell each
I
other?
don't know.
Taster's Choice.
Hi guys, it's Mindy. I'm here in my kitchen. And today we are cooking, but we have a very special guest. Very special. Senator Kamala Harris.
Hi guys.
Sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas. Certified boogeyman, I'm the one that up to score with him. Walking down whole time, I know he got some hoe in him. Pole on him, extort shit, bully the flow on him. Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not ever go to cell block 1. To any bitch that talk to him and they in love, just make sure you hide your little sister from him. They tell me Chubb's the only one that get your hand-me-downs. And party at the party playing with his nose now. And Baca got a weird case, why is he around? Certified lover boys, certified pedophiles. Wop, 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 wop. That fuck him up. Wop, 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 wop. I'ma do my stuff. Why you trolling like a bitch, ain't you tired? Trying to strike a chord and it's probably A minor.
Wait, so here's what I want to know.
Okay.
Is it respectful to call, like, I should be calling you Senator Harris, right?
No, you should not. That's not on my birth certificate.
Okay.
Call
Kamala?
Yes, please.
Okay, because the Indian in me, I feel like my parents,
Just
my
don't
dad
call
will
me-
watch this.
Just don't call me auntie.
Okay, I won't call you auntie. They'll be like, how could you call her by her first name? She's worked so hard. Okay, so what we're gonna cook today is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, you know Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people
You
we're
do.
related already,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. It's basically true.
They not like us. 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 You think the Bay gon' let you disrespect Pop, nigga?
They keep telling us this woman is going to be the first Black American female president. Not only is she not Black American, but she came from an immigrant mother from India, and her father, born in Jamaica, is Irish and Indian. They've been getting over on us since 2020, telling us this woman was Jamaican. And of course, when people hear that, they automatically believe that her father is Black. But no, her father is Indian and Irish. And he's very proud to be a descendant of an Irish slave master. There's a whole town named after this slave master in Jamaica. But they fool us because of her parents' skin color. They have brown skin, so we think they're Black, when neither one of them are.
I think that Oakland show gon' be your last stop, nigga. They cold foul. I don't know why you still pretending. What is the owl? Bird niggas and bird bitches.
But Aryans look exactly like Kamala Harris. They're swarthy, dark-haired, dark-eyed, and they're classified as Caucasian. So she's got a Caucasian mother, Caucasian dad. Where the hell does she come in being Black? And even if her great-grandmother was part Black, that's still not enough to make her Black in America. She'd still be a typical white person.
Oh, the audience not dumb. Shape the stories how you want. Hey Drake, they're not slow. Rabbit hole is still deep. I can go further, I promise. Ain't there some B-rest that's for bitching? You Malibu most wanted.
And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Biden turned and looked at her like, who? Well, Kamala said it was her, but Judge Brown is saying she went to school in Canada K through 12. As a child, after her parents broke up, she moved to Canada with her mother, graduated.
I wonder if you know that I know he's lying right now. Oh, you got the new Margellas? That's what's up, that's what's up, I see you. That's your BMW? That's nice. That's your girl? Golly. Okay, I see you. But I just want to know one thing. You ready? Why the fuck you lying?
School there. Didn't move back to America until she went to college.
She was born in the same hospital in the same 12-month period my ex-wife was, and my now late mother-in-law was a paternity nurse in the same delivery room where she was born. So yeah, she comes from that, but her mother was a Hindu, a visiting scholar, and her daddy was a visiting Hindu scholar, also professor. So how does she become from that background? She becomes a Black woman. She's not. She's a fake. She's been faking her whole damn life.
You know, law boy, you ball boy, fish Gatorade or something. Since 2009, I had this bitch jumping. You niggas would get a wedgie, be flipped over your boxes, or over your foe. The other vaginal option, pussy.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna do something that's only gonna benefit Black people. No.
So we can stop all this foolishness about what you're doing for Black people.
You want to see what the deal is? If you're white and Black, do they call you white? No. They call you Black.
About slavery, but few discuss paper genocide. We did not all come from Africa, and most of us have Aboriginal roots that were stripped away due to reclassification and miseducation. As a Native Black American and a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. If you want to learn how to trace your genealogy and apply for tribal citizenship, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com to schedule a consultation.
I know how to make a mean pot of greens. In fact, people used to ask me to make greens for them for Christmas. One year, I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bathtub.
Collard greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. You keep repeating the same old plantation bullshit, tired narrative we outgrew. Jokes on you. Collard greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. Ooh.
You support reparations for Black people.
I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna do something that's only gonna benefit Black people. No.
Can't listen to the lies no more. You barationist and twerking in our face to degrade our image. It's not us, it's you. It shows your level of ignorance, not ours. Now the joke's on you. Your prejudice attitude is a bust. You try to make us the butt of your jokes, but you're exposing yourself. Oh.
So instead of Kamala Harris giving us policy to benefit Black people, she gave us shaking Megan Thee Stallion. That is what she think Black people deserves.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this.
You misrepresent us, but we stand tall. Confident in our lineage, proud and strong. Your stereotypes don't define our soul. We break barriers, taking control. You can paint us wrong, but we stand right, rise above all hate. Unified, no debate. Broke free from the chains we face by all the noise. But keep talking, you're the fool. We play it cool. Collard greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. You keep repeating the same old plantation bullshit, tired narrative we outgrew. Jokes on you.
So I know how to make a mean pot of greens. I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bathtub.
Collard greens in a bathtub.
About slavery, but few discuss paper genocide. We did not all come from Africa, and most of us have Aboriginal roots that were stripped away due to reclassification and miseducation. As a Native Black American and a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. If you want to learn how to trace your genealogy and apply for tribal citizenship, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com to schedule a consultation.
Collard greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. The same type of directives that we outgrew, but we see through your facade. Jokes on you. Jokes on you.
I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street. Everyone's like, you know, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a Black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
Black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear.
Hey, all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a Black person. Oh Lord, that kills me every time, y'all. That cracks me up each and every time. But let's get serious, shall we? Smash the like button on the way in, hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. You know they got your boy demonetized and shadow banned and all that good stuff. But still, we're here giving you the content you desperately need. We've probably all by now heard the remarks that Kamala's made, kind of diminishing the need of reparations. I mean, She flat out said she's not going to just do something for Black folks. I mean, it took her so long to even speak of any policy that she was planning to implement if she was granted the presidency. But, you know, it seems that she's really doubling down on the no reparations. And this really becomes such a paradox because on the one hand, her main strength that she's running with is, you know, her alleged Black identity. But on the other hand, she's saying she's not going to do something that a vast majority of Black Americans want to be done, which is restitution, which is rectification, which is reparations for the atrocity, not just of slavery, but all the other institutions and policies thereafter, from redlining to Jim Crow, miscegenation laws, and everything in between. So it's very interesting that this lady wants to double down on the no reparations, but let's go ahead and get on into it, shall we?
Opposes reparations for Black Americans. During her interview with the National Association for Black Journalists, Kamala Harris completely skirted the issue that has been gaining momentum, driven by the broad support nationwide from the Black community. Let's take a look.
I want to switch gears to racial justice, Madam Vice President. Last month, you eulogized Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Jackson Lee's signature bill, one of a few, was H.R. 40, which would create a commission to study the history of U.S. slavery and study the issue of reparations. She introduced H.R. 40 every session of Congress, taking up the mantle from Congressman John Conyers. This is a bill that you have co-sponsored as a U.S. Senator. Yet, this has, despite the fact that this has been, similar commissions have been created on the state level and on the local level, is yet to pass in Congress, let alone come out of committee. Congresswoman Jackson Lee, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, and other advocates have called for President Biden to take executive action to create this commission. Would you, as president, take executive action to create this commission, or do you believe that it should happen in Congress?
Come on, guys. This commission that they're referring to is a commission they created in California, where they were supposed to form some type of group to look into the possibility of reparations and how it would be distributed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a very interesting question, and I wonder what her answer is going to be. You would think naturally, especially since she's running under, I'm going to be the first Black president, you would think it's going to be a simple yes. Yes, as president, I will put forth committees and different organizations that are going to look into implementing reparations. Let's see if we're going to get a simple yes.
Well, first of all, I just, as you mentioned, Sheila.
Oh, shaky start. Oh, it's so shaky, y'all. It's looking real rocky. She said, well, first of all, yeah, all right, guys. Let's take a look.
Action to create this commission. Would you, as president, take executive action to create this commission, or do you believe that it should happen in Congress?
Well, first of all, I just, as you mentioned, Sheila Jackson Lee, she was an extraordinary leader who we just recently lost, and she was a friend and a real champion for so many issues. So I feel compelled to say that about her. On the issue of what we need to do going forward, look, first of all, we just need to speak truth about history, in spite of the fact that some people would try and erase history and try and teach our children up.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with the theater of politics, this is called filibustering. She's giving us a bunch of word salad while she desperately tries to think of what to say next. Oh, well, first of all, that lady you mentioned, I think she's great. And yeah, a strong person. Yeah. And yeah, this is something that, first of all, we have to look into history because some people that deny history, come on, we see through you. We're much more intelligent than you give us credit for. Can we get a simple answer? Will you, as president, form committees to look into reparations? We're not even talking about you definitively saying, yes, you're going to give out reparations, but can we at least get a hard yes on you putting together some committees to look into it?
He was a friend and a real champion for so many issues. So I feel compelled to say that about her. On the issue of what we need to do going forward, look, first of all, we just need to speak truth about history, in spite of the fact that some people would try and erase history and try and teach our children otherwise. We need to speak truth about the generational impact of our history, in terms of the generational impact of slavery, the generational impact of
So does this mean you want to put forth a committee to look into reparations?
redlining, of Jim Crow law? I could go on and on and on. These are facts that have had impact. And we need to.
So in other words, she is calling for a commission to discuss facts that are clear.
No, 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 my little Puerto Rican friend. No, 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 Puerto Rican man. She won't even confirm that she will put forth a commission to discuss reparations. She's just filibustering right now. The brother sitting across from her asked her straight up, hey, HR 140, whatever that bill titled in California, they said, hey, they're putting forth a committee to look into reparations. Can you do that? She said, so-and-so was a friend of mine. History is important. Slavery. Still no firm commitment. So I just got to correct you there, Mr. Latino.
That no one denies that there are clear disparities among the treatment of blacks in this country and minorities. You saw my video on when Michael Jackson helped me get a job, a remote job, $120,000 remote job, and all of the issues that I encountered going up against white America, because I was in a team of minorities. They basically took apart the team, didn't take apart any other team in the organization for which I was working. I did not want to believe it. Nonetheless, she wants to simply defer this to Congress so they can talk about it, so they can remind people. How much reminders were required for them to send the billions of dollars that they sent overseas for the war in Ukraine? I mean, listen, what's happening over there, I'm not discounting it. Nonetheless, were committees held? I mean, and she's not even talking about, she says that we have to have this discussion. Where is this discussion taking place?
We need to speak truth about it. And we need to speak truth about it in a way that is about deriving solutions. And frankly, I think that we, and part of that is studying it to figure out exactly.
Studying it. What about paying?
What we need to do. But part of what we can do right now is, for example, what I'm talking about in terms of building an opportunity economy, which is addressing explicitly.
Ew. As a lifelong entrepreneur, as an amateur economist, as someone who knows about business and finance and investments, what the fuck kind of liberal language is that? She just said an opportunity economy. What the hell is an opportunity economy? She means some lift-off programs, y'all. She means some I ain't gonna do nothing for black folks, no reparations for slavery, but here's some programs that maybe some black people can also benefit from.
The obstacles that historically and currently exist and dealing with them: student loan debt, medical debt, bias in home appraisals.
Student loan debt ain't reparations. Medical debt ain't reparations. Come on. Appraisals have nothing to do with reparations.
That has nothing to do with reparations.
What we need to do in terms of dealing with an issue that I have championed for years, Black maternal mortality, which is the fact that Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth than.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is called filibustering. They talk so long that they give you the okey doke, the circle jerk, to the point where you forgot what question they were even asked. This is politics. This is called being a politician. We're getting a class act right now. Shout out to the Manhattan Project. Manhattan Project says, Heffa, just say yes or hell no. For real, in the back of my mind, I'm just hearing Aaliyah say yes or say no. Because we really need some reparations. Can somebody give us some reparations?
Has nothing to do with reparations, student loan debt, medical debt, appraisals. People are trying to erase history, right? What are you talking about? Everyone knows that slavery, African Americans have been enslaved in the United States from 1619 to 1865, murdered, brutalized, made victims of genocide. The policy of 40 acres and a mule was Union General William T. Sherman's Special Field Order number 15. The islands from Charleston, South Carolina, the abandoned rice fields along the rivers for 30 miles back from the sea and the country bordering the St. Johns River are reserved and set apart for the settlement of the Negroes, now made freely the acts of war and the proclamation of the President of the United States. Section 2 specifies that these communities, moreover, would be governed entirely by Black people themselves. With this order, 400,000 acres of land, a strip of coastline stretching from Charleston, South Carolina to the St. Johns River in Florida, including Georgia's Sea Islands and the mainland, 30 miles in from the coast, as Barton Mayer's reports, would be redistributed to the newly freed slaves. The next push for reparations took place at the turn of the century. One bill introduced in the U.S. Senate in 1894 would have granted direct payments of up to $500 to all ex-slaves, plus monthly pensions ranging from $4 to $15. This and several bills died in congressional committees. So she wants to send the issue of reparations to die, just as they clearly do in congressional committees in the past. So she wants to repeat. If you don't know your history, you are doomed to repeat it. It demanded $500 million from American churches and synagogues for their role in perpetrating slavery during the Civil War, during the 60s, in the 80s. A new call arose for Black reparations. The Supreme Court ordered the federal government to pay 8 Sioux Indian tribes $122 million to compensate for their legal seizure of tribal lands in 1977. Then in 1988, Congress approved the payment of $1.25 billion to 60,000 Japanese American citizens who had been interned in prison camps during World War II. Council member Ray Jenkins in 1989 called for $40 billion federal education fund for Black college and trade school students. About the same time, a conference of Black state legislators meeting in New Orleans backed the idea. And it goes on and on. Nothing in what she is saying addresses what the NAACP is calling for. Reparations would involve a national apology, rights to the cannabis industry, financial payment, social service benefits, land grants to every descendant of an enslaved African American and Black person, a descendant of those living in the United States, including during American slavery until the Jim Crow era, because slavery involved kidnapping, barbarism, and the stripping of language, culture, and heritage. Many Black people are unaware of their specific African heritage and which country, in fact, their ancestors were stolen from. Listen, and that's why they're traveling from where my family originates. Look at San Basilio de Palenque. I'll just include that note right here. Often referred to by the locals simply as Palenque, is a Palenque village, and this was actually the first free town established by former slaves in the Americas and lies 50 kilometers from the popular port city of Cartagena. And people in this country, they're traveling over there and learning because they still speak African dialect. We keep it funky with ours.
Yeah, like he just said, he's from Puerto Rico, Central America. They keep it funky with theirs. The descendants of the African slaves over there still speak their African dialect. We don't speak African dialect because only 4% of the African slaves went to North America. Most of us actually have Aboriginal heritage. So yeah, miss me with that. We all come from Africa, BS. And with that said, guys, this is a perfect segue to remind you to take advantage of the promotion I'm currently running. If you've yet to book a genealogy consultation, what are you waiting for? If you don't have a family tree built out, if you've heard rumors from your family that you got Aboriginal lineage and you haven't found any concrete documentation, if you've wondered what the process of getting Native American citizenship is, just like how I am a card-carrying member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, then send me an email, hit me up. I'm here to help. And here's a quick look at what some folks are saying about their experience.
If you're looking to get genealogy consultation, I highly recommend Mike. He was very thorough, prompt, very knowledgeable. Even taught me some stuff about the background of Indian ancestry and heritage that I didn't know. The biggest piece of it was he taught me how to pull records and really dig into those records to make sure that I have things to match up to be able to take back for my citizenship. So I really appreciate everything he does, and I highly recommend Mike as your genealogist.
Evening, I had a consultation, a genealogy consultation to figure out my Native American ancestry. And I was given a lot of valuable information this evening, from the origin of the tribes to the different ethnic breakdown to how everything was ran and colonized before, the discovery of Columbus, and after he came over here. So I think that you will find the value in the information as I did.
Other women. And we know that the reasons for that include disparities that pre-exist her pregnancy, including disparities that exist in the system during her pregnancy. So all of those things must be addressed.
Do you have a position on whether that should happen, this commission should happen through executive order or via Congress?
I think Congress ultimately will have the ability.
So she wants to defer this to Congress. Pass the ball to the other person. Let them mess it up. Why does she take ownership? If you are president of the United States, clothed in immense power, why is it that, at the very least, put something together through executive action so you can bring light to the issue? Because once you are president, everything that you do and say is of public concern.
And guys, this is really just further evidence that she don't give a damn about our community, because we all know that typically politicians lie and give grand promises to get in office, and then when they get in office, they don't live up to the promises they made. This broad won't even lie and say, yes, I'll look into creating some kind of, like, she won't even try to lie to kick it. She's that blatant with the disrespect. She's that blatant with the lack of care for our community. Meanwhile, I mean, a couple Asians got beat up and they got a Asian crime bill passed overnight, right?
Is of national importance. That's why people started to pay attention more to Donald Trump. Now, every time that he tweeted something, it made the news because he's now president of the United States.
To do this work. I'm not discounting the importance of any executive action, but ultimately Congress. Because if you're going to talk about it in any substantial way, there will be hearings, there will be...
If you want to talk about it.
A level of public education and dialogue that, and I think that was part of the...
What can you do in your power in order to push this issue that 77% of Black Americans support?
The spirit behind the congressional action thus far, to ensure that everyone can participate in this conversation in a way that elevates knowledge about history.
Elevates knowledge about history. Elevates knowledge. We know the history. We know how people were brutalized, were murdered, were raped. We know it very clearly and still encounter issues. Yesterday I was trying to make an appointment. You could clearly see that just because of my race, just because I'm colored, they were trying to set up all kinds of obstacles for me to simply set up an appointment for my wife's annual physical.
That are the impetus of this conversation. Especially, again, when people are trying to deny history. When people are, so-called leaders are saying that enslaved people benefited from slavery. I mean, let's talk about the delta here in terms of the work that needs to be done.
That's not going to drive.
Let's talk about the fact that her boy, Sleepy Joe, passed an executive order to protect the Asian community, but she won't pass an executive order if she becomes president to look out for our community. Interesting, huh? Real interesting, ain't it?
This, whether people are denying slavery. How are you going to deny slavery? It happened. It's
Do
history.
you support reparations for Black people?
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination and segregation, and now we
Who is we? Both your parents are Indian. One of them is half Irish, half Indian by way of Jamaica. You were raised in Canada. Who do you mean we? Or are you French, Kamala? I thought you were Asian. I thought you was Hindu. I didn't know you were French. What is up with all the we?
Have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, Black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of Black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects Black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
I really liked the information that I learned today, and it really opened up my mind. Before, I have to say that I was a little bit more closed-minded, and sadly, I didn't really understand a lot of the things about Native American history that my mom was also have been trying to tell me about the people in America. But this really opened my mind, and it also was really, really easy information to understand. Even though it was a lot of information, it was still very, very easy to understand. So I recommend, especially for the people with closed minds or the people who don't believe some things about ancestry and Native American history of Americans, and many Americans in America, I really recommend that they give this a shot and look at this information, because I do believe that it's different and that you will learn a lot.
And you learn so much about history that they don't teach in schools. They're not actually Black, but they were Native Americans. But just because of how they looked, then they would reclassify them differently. Like first they were Native, and then they became mulatto, and then they were colored, and then they were Black, and then they were African first, then American. So it's like so many different classifications, and it sort of like keeps our true identity buried. But this, you learn how to put together your family tree. You are actually taught how to not just put together a family tree, but to connect your background with your Native heritage. And that's very important.
A tax credit. That's what she says will satisfy reparations for which Black Americans are demanding.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place, and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners. Because
Yeah, just like how affirmative action was supposed to directly benefit us, but actually white women benefited the most from affirmative action, right? So miss me with the lift all programs. Okay, we're talking about something exclusive for descendant of American slaves, something exclusive, just like how you gave something exclusively to the Japanese after Pearl Harbor, just like how you give billions exclusively to Ukraine, just like how you give billions exclusively to the state of Israel. Yeah, we want something exclusively for Native Black Americans.
disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit that community and society as a whole in the country. Right?
The LIFT Act established a program with the Department of Housing and Urban Development in consultation with the Department of the Treasury to sponsor low fixed rate 20-year mortgages for the first generation home buyers who have incomes equal to or less than 120% of their area median income. She's proposing what, a $50,000 tax credit for startup businesses. You have to be able to account for your expenses operating a small business regardless. This is HR 40. This is the bill to which the journalists were referring during the interview. This bill establishes the commission to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans. The commission shall examine slavery and discrimination in the colonies in the United States from 1619 to the present and recommend appropriate remedies. The commission shall identify the role of the federal and state government supporting the institution of slavery, forms of discrimination in the public.
In which Black Beryl, this woman is her legitimate grandmother, okay? And by the way, I want to say, because keeping up, looking at this Beryl, she in no way favors Donald Harris. Let's get a side-by-side of Beryl and Donald Harris. Like, what are we even speaking about? If you put this together, how are you getting Beryl from this woman and Oscar Harris? I don't see it. Now, again, genes can be funny, but then when you put him next to our white Iris, I go, okay, look at those squinty eyes here. I could see a little bit of a similarity here. He does seem to somewhat favor her. Again, now we're just believing our own eyes and asking the right questions. What we do know for a fact is that woman on the right, Iris Harris, is related to Kamala Harris, and we need answers, okay? We need answers.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a very direct question.
Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always identified as a Black woman. She went to a historically Black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe
I
that she
think
is
somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be.
Many know about slavery, but few discuss paper genocide. We did not all come from Africa, and most of us have Aboriginal roots that were stripped away due to reclassification and miseducation. As a Native Black American and a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. If you want to learn how to trace your genealogy and apply for tribal citizenship, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com to schedule a consultation.
I am not a slave, I was born to slide, I am not afraid. Hop about a K, oh yeah, free to God, they went out of state. I'm a child of God, I do not belong to the United States. Fuck Black History, tell Uncle Sam he can catch a fade. I went to school, graduated at the top of my class. Still never thought I was over my peers. We did that time together 12 years. Ain't that some movie? I think that it is. They won't control me, I'm really a member. I traveled that road, I came back with the jewels from. When I pull up, they peep how the roof gone. We some dog killers, won't chew bones. Know we all spit on, we supreme. Somewhere I read a nigga had a dream.
You don't have to try to be something you're not. God, I can't stand this.
Trying to be something I'm not? Trying to be proud of my African heritage? That's being something I'm not, then fine.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois. My grandfather was a Black from a long line of journeymen who lived in Connecticut since the establishment of the colonies. My father was a Bajan who came to this country a cabin boy in a merchant marina.
I know all of that, Mama.
Then know this. I am alive because of the blood of a people who never scraped or begged or apologized for what they were. They asked only one thing of this world: to be allowed to be. I gave you my grandmother's name, a woman who bore 9 children and educated them all. Who held off 6 white men with a shotgun when they tried to drag one of her sons off to jail for not knowing his place. And you had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
I was born black, I live black, and I'm gonna die probably because some cracker that knows I'm black better than you, nigga, is probably gonna put a bullet in the back of my head.
This is the remix. My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American. Making music would've thought I had help, but the Indians I know wanna be the chief they self.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is part 2 of our coverage on Kamala Harris's latest attempt at cosplaying and pandering to our community. You know, these politicians cannot survive without the black vote. Come on. Hit the like button on the way in, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the broadcast, and hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. Let's proceed with the content.
About the work that they are doing that is about clean energy work, technology, as well as the traditional, whether it be a barbershop or a restaurant. One of the big issues facing black entrepreneurs and black small businesses is access to capital. Because unlike my opponent, who got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, don't forget that.
Bitch, you are descendants of Irish slave masters in Jamaica, Hindu elitists. You went to a private school in Canada. What are you talking about? Your family is just as rich as Trump's is. Okay, maybe Trump's family is a little richer, but still, both of your families are members of the 1%. Don't try to act like you're a poor commoner. You don't know about no EBT card.
Calls himself a businessman. Not everybody has access to the capital, but we know in the community we do not lack for ambition, aspirations, dreams, hard work ethic. And so my work has been as vice president to increase billions of dollars into community banks. And as vice president, part of that work will also be to change the tax deduction for startup small businesses from $5,000 to $50,000, because nobody can start a small business on $5,000. And if you don't otherwise have intergenerational wealth, how are you going to be able to do it? Second point on small businesses, this. I'm going to do, basically, it's a program that is about a $20,000 non-refundable loan.
A $20,000 non-refundable loan for small businesses does not help black people, Kamala Harris. Why don't you try to help us get in a position of business ownership instead of just giving a handout to someone who's already a business owner? I mean, come on, most of us are living day-to-day, paycheck to paycheck, and she thinks it's reparations, giving out some tax credits or loans for people to buy homes or start businesses. That's called stimulating the economy, not reparations.
To basically businesses that don't have access to wealth and don't have those relationships, which is going to directly impact a lot of black-owned small businesses. That $20,000 non-refundable loan is what would help somebody if they need to buy equipment, right? If they need to buy an extra truck, depending on what that business is, which we know that's a big part of what holds back our small businesses. Just having enough capital to actually pay for the things that allow you to then put your hard work into play to actually grow your business. The other piece, and this is something that is critically important, is...
God damn it, guys. She does so much filibustering. You may not realize the question that was originally asked was about reparations for black folks. Let me rewind this a little bit so you can hear the original question that was asked of her.
And part of the same that still exists, hard rate, which they exist.
Right. And every election for over half of
disparities that exist. Thank you for your work.
For black communities doesn't mean don't do for others, but black Americans are heavily asked to vote Democrat in every election for over half a century with very little in return. What are your plans to address these very important issues and change that narrative?
Thank you. Don't get it twisted, guys. When she's ranting about loans for small business owners and tax credits for homeowners, that was her reparations package for Black folks.
I
appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for your work. So, to your point, yes, I am running to be a president for all Americans. That being said, I do have clear eyes about the disparities that exist and the context in which they exist, meaning history, to your point. So my agenda, well, first of all, on the point of reparations, it has to be studied. There's no question about that. And I've been very clear about that position. In terms of my immediate plan,
Peep game, guys. They won't ever say it needs to be distributed. It needs to be granted. It needs to be passed as a law, as an act. No, the closest thing they'll get to saying is it needs to be studied. Well, do you think it needs to be given? Oh, it needs to be studied. Do you think Black people deserve reparations for slavery? Well, it needs to be studied.
I will tell you a few of the following. One, as it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother, worked hard, raised me and my sister. And by the time I was in high school, she was able to afford our first home. I know what it means for an individual and a family to have home ownership. I also know, in the context of history, nobody got 40 acres and a mule. We have a history of a number of things, including redlining. Detroit knows it well. A history of, for example, something that still exists that I've worked on to address, which is...
Guys, don't get it twisted. When KAMALA from San Fran, Bay Area, says that her family was middle class, you're most likely not a California native like I am. Middle class in the Bay Area is making over $250,000 a year. So when you hear her say, hey, I'm middle class, just know her family was making over $250,000 a year, and they could still be considered middle class in the Bay Area.
Racial bias in home appraisals. And we know home ownership is, Black families are 40% less likely to be homeowners than others. And that home ownership is one of the surest ways to build intergenerational wealth, right? Because when you own a home, that's when if your child says, Daddy, I want to go to college, you can say, sweetheart, don't have to take out a loan. I'll take some equity out of the house. Or if your child says, I want to start a small business, same point.
Taking equity out of your home is still a loan, you fucking imbecile. It's just a loan that's backed by your house as collateral. If you default on that loan, they take your house.
Right? So my plan includes making sure that for first-time home buyers, they have a $25,000 down payment assistance to just get their foot in the door, because we know folks will work hard, they'll save, and pay that monthly mortgage. Second point is to bring down the cost of housing generally, because one of the issues is we have a housing supply shortage, and so that's about working with the private sector. In terms of our small businesses, which are part of the backbone of the economy of the Black community and part of the backbone of America's economy writ large. My second mother, the woman who helped raise us, was a small business owner. I know who our small business owners are, and I have convened Black small business owners way before I was running for president in my official office at the White House to talk with...
Guys, just like when she says, oh, I was raised middle class, but in that area, middle class makes over $250,000 a year, is the same way when she talks about, oh, I'm going to do something for small businesses. Unless you've been a business owner like me, did you know that companies that have up to 1,000 employees are still considered small businesses? If you have 600 employees, you're still considered a small business. If your company makes tens of millions of dollars and you've got 800 employees, you're still considered a quote unquote small business. So who is she really helping out?
Young entrepreneurs, mostly young, about the work that they are doing that is about clean energy work, technology, as well as the traditional, whether it be a barbershop or a restaurant. One of the big issues facing Black entrepreneurs and Black small businesses is access to capital. Because unlike my opponent, who got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, don't forget that, calls himself a businessman. Not everybody has access to the capital, but we know in the community we do not lack for ambition, aspirations, dreams, hard work ethic. And so my work has been as vice president to increase billions of dollars into community banks
And as vice president, part of that work will also be to change the tax deduction for startup small businesses from $5,000 to $50,000.
To Mike TV, this was a really good consultation. If you're curious about your Native American history, this brother knows what he's talking about. He has a wealth of knowledge, wealth of information, and his prices is legit. So book a consultation, go through the process, and see what comes out on the other side.
Because nobody can start a small business on $5,000. And if you don't otherwise have intergenerational wealth, how are you going to be able to do it? Second point on small businesses, this.
I've started several small businesses with less than $5,000, so that's a lie, but okay. He wants you to believe you can't be a small business owner unless you got more than 5,000 capital to start with, or unless you've got intergenerational wealth. All right. I became a realtor at 18 years old. I think my courses cost $300, so under $500. I became a realtor and started a business selling property across California. But let Kamala tell it, you got to have intergenerational wealth or $5,000.
I'm going to do, basically, it's a program that is about a $20,000 non-refundable loan to to basically businesses that don't have access to wealth and don't have those relationships, which is going to directly impact a lot of small business, Black-owned small businesses. That $20,000 non-refundable loan is what would help somebody if they need to buy equipment, right? If they need to buy an extra truck, depending on what that business is, which we know that's a big part of what holds back our small businesses. Just having enough capital to actually pay for the things that allow you to then put your hard work into play.
Know about slavery, but few discuss paper genocide. We did not all come from Africa, and most of us have Aboriginal roots that were stripped away due to reclassification and miseducation. As a Native Black American and a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. If you want to learn how to trace your genealogy and apply for tribal citizenship, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com to schedule a consultation.
I'm gonna hurt somebody's feelings, but we got a witch running for president. That woman is the worst kind of sleaze you can ever think of. I was in California when it was going down. And I used to represent 40 years ago a whole chunk of pimps and hoes in Memphis. And I know a hoe when I see one. And when I see a hoe, I know she got a pimp. And I want to find out who the pimps are that we getting tricked out on the benefit of.
Hey, if you're looking to get genealogy consultation, I highly recommend Mike. He was very thorough, prompt, very knowledgeable. Even taught me some stuff about the background of Indian ancestry and heritage that I didn't know. The biggest piece of it is he taught me how to pull records and really dig into those records to make sure that I have things to match up to be able to take back for my citizenship. So I really appreciate everything he does, and I highly recommend Mike as your genealogist.
Who are the pimps that this woman is working for? And I see some decent ladies out there. I've met a few of you. And I resent the fact that you got a hoe that's being your face. You see, tomorrow is yesterday today. So today was yesterday, and it'll be tomorrow. That's why we have to understand today. What the hell did you just say? And you gonna fake off about being a Negro? I met a daddy. Sat next to the man for 2.5 hours at the Governor General's table down in Jamaica. My ex-wife asked him what he was. He said he was Irish and he was Hindu. She said, you don't have anybody black in your family? He said, no.
I see dead people. Yeah, well, it's like this. Oh, we got to go support the sister. We can get a black woman in the White. No, you're not getting one. Her daddy says his entire background is either Caucasian Irish or Caucasian Hindu. His Irish ancestors owned a bunch of slaves, and none of his ancestors were slaves. He has a grandmother who is a dark-skinned Hindu who was a house servant. So where does Kamala get her black ancestry since her mother is classified as a Caucasian Tamil Hindu Brahmin caste person? They're dark skinned, but they're known anthropologically as Indo-Aryans, I-N-D-O hyphen.
Hey, monster on the beat, ho, Debo, any rap nigga, he a freak though, man down, call her Amber Lambs, tell him breathe, bro, nail a nigga to the cross, he walk around like Tizo. What's up with these jabroni ass niggas trying to see Compton? The industry can hate me, fuck them all and they mama. How many options you really got? I mean, it's too many options. I'm finna pass on this body, I'm John Stockton. Beat your ass and hide the Bible if God watching.
So nice. Are you stressed for making Indian food?
Oh my God, you do have the tasters. Oh my, you have no idea. This is how my mother kept all of her stuff.
This is so funny. I told my dad I was like bringing over the stuff from the store. He's like, obviously I put them in Taster's Choice.
But this literally was how my mother kept all of this stuff.
That's so funny.
What is that?
Do they tell each
I
other?
don't know.
Taster's Choice.
Hi guys, it's Mindy. I'm here in my kitchen. And today we are cooking, but we have a very special guest. Very special. Senator Kamala Harris.
Hi guys.
Sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas. Certified boogeyman, I'm the one that up to score with him. Walking down whole time, I know he got some hoe in him. Pole on him, extort shit, bully the floor on him. Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not ever go to cell block 1. To any bitch that talk to him and they in love, just make sure you hide your little sister from him. They tell me Chubb's the only one that get your hand-me-downs and party at the party playing with his nose now. And Baca got a weird case, why is he around? Certified lover boys, certified pedophiles. Wop, 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 that fuck 'em up. Wop, 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 I'ma do my stuff.
Many know about slavery, but few discuss paper genocide. We did not all come from Africa, and most of us have Aboriginal roots that were stripped away due to reclassification and miseducation. As a Native Black American and a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. If you want to learn how to trace your genealogy and apply for tribal citizenship, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com to schedule a consultation.
I am not a slave, I was born to slide, I am not afraid. Hop about the K, oh yeah, free to God, they went out of state. I'm a child of God, I do not belong to the United States. Fuck Black History, tell Uncle Sam he can catch a fade. I went to hell, I mean school, graduated at the top of my class. Still never thought I was over my peers. We did that time together 12 years. Ain't that some movie? I think that it is. They won't control me, I'm really a member. I traveled that road, I came back with the jewels for 'em. When I pull up, they peep how the roof gone. We some dog killers, won't chew bones. Know we all spit 'em, we supreme. Somewhere I read a nigga had a dream.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, smash that like button on the way in. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the broadcast. Hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission, and let's get on with the show. Judge Joe Brown has some very, very polarizing things to say about Kamala Harris.
Somebody's feelings, but we got a witch running for president. That woman is the worst kind of sleaze you can ever think of. I was in California when it was going down. And I used to represent 40 years ago a whole chunk of pimps and hoes in Memphis. And I know a hoe when I see one. And when I see a hoe, I know she got a pimp. And I want to find out who the pimps are that we getting tricked out on the benefit of. Who are the pimps that this woman is working for? And I see some decent ladies out there. I've met a few of you. And I resent the fact that you got a hoe that's being your face. You see, tomorrow is yesterday today, so today was yesterday, and it'll be tomorrow tomorrow. That's why we have to understand today. What the hell did you just say? Are you gonna fake off about being a Negro? I met a daddy. Sat next to the man for 2.5 hours at the Governor General's table down in Jamaica. My ex-wife asked him what he was. He said he was Irish and he was Hindu.
Damn. As a matter of fact, I found a very old, well, not very old, it's like 4 years old, but I went deep into the archives and I found an interview in India that Kamala Harris's aunt did, and the Indian reporter asked her straight up about Kamala Harris being black, and Kamala's auntie did not corroborate that story.
So, like, looking ahead, Kamala Harris has also said that I'm a black woman who's got into the vice president post, but I will not be the last. And many are also saying that she will be the future president in 2024. Your take on that, ma'am?
I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I have no comment.
Damn, guys, if I say that I'm a black man and I'm running to be the first black something, 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 and my family member is asked about it, isn't I don't know about that, no comment? Isn't that a very, very strange response to give? I don't know, but we also have Candace Owens teaming up with Judge Joe Brown. They did a recent interview. Let's take a look and see if he has any gems to drop on Kamala Harris.
Said Jomo Kenyatta in the Mau Mau. That was a CIA project. Grandmommy was vice president of a Hawaiian bank, and she distributed the funds for the CIA.
And right now he's given the heritage and genealogy of Barack Obama. So hopefully right after this, he transitions into Kamala Camel Toe cosplayer, Miss Harris.
The South and Northwest Pacific at the time.
That explains
So
what they were doing out in Hawaii.
she puts him together with her daughter, who was 17 years old. Barack is born, and then they quickly go their separate ways. And then grandmommy gets daughter and hooks her up with Lolo Sotoro. And remember, grandmommy is married to President Bush's first cousin. So
That's incredible.
that's where you get this. And then you get
So Barack Obama's grandmother, the one who raised him in Hawaii, is married to, so his grandfather is married to,
in other words, the grandfather is Bush's
first cousin.
Yeah, and they're all nephews to Uncle Herbie, who founded Halliburton in 1946 in Oklahoma. It had previously been chartered under that name in 1919 in Oklahoma, but it went defunct, so he revived it.
So it's actually quite interesting that you're saying that, because when I began this investigation into Kamala, before I had even presented it to the public, I was just seeing what was already out there. And there was this random person who wrote a blog piece years ago, 10 years ago, saying that, you know, and I thought it was crazy when I read it, but he said that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden share a grandfather. And I went, like, that's so wacky. And so what are you talking about? But then as we started realizing,
That's on the Irish side.
right, the same last name, Finnegan. They actually are all Finnegans,
Mhm.
and they both kind of have, once you get to granddad stage, it gets a little shady, is what I'll say. You know, she's lying about things. Her dad's lying about things. I can't quite figure out, like, we can't find a picture of the real Beryl. We know that Beryl had a sister who was very, very white. And actually the name that she gives us, Patrick Al-Nahanus Finnegan, doesn't seem to exist. So we're lying about a grandparent somewhere. And then when I start looking into Biden's side, I was doing it this weekend, you know, things are pretty shady there too. I'm just kind of at the beginning of this, but, you know, it's like his great grandfather, like, you know, same situation, like the parents both died at very young ages. One was an alcoholic. You know, it's always like the parents somehow go missing, and then the grandparents, like he also, like, you know, was really raised and formed by his grandparents. So it's getting interesting, especially when you consider what the world was, which I think is something that people don't do. Like, people always want to apply the logic to today, and they don't realize how things were back in the 60s or back in the 40s, how easy it was to fake documents, how easy it was to move into different countries.
Yes.
And I had Kamala's family relative tell me that you could literally just walk into the office in Jamaica and say, like, make a birth certificate. Like, it was just very easy to get things done in that way.
Very. And see, the other thing too is, you, with your situation, you are well aware of the Commonwealth, right? Okay. Your in-laws.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, that was Hong Kong, Singapore, that was Nigeria, that was Kenya, South Africa, that was Pakistan, that was India, that
Jamaica.
was Jamaica, man. That was the Bahamas, that was Barbados, that was New Zealand, that was Australia. So I used to get to Jamaica an awful lot. So you hear somebody, hey man, everything gonna be all right, man. How do you mind? Speaking patois, and you turn around and there's somebody Chinese talking like they go, oh wow. Well, see, it's the British Commonwealth, before that, the British Empire. So everybody travels freely around there. Now I have a friend that's married to a Jamaican. She was born in Jamaica. So were her parents, but she's English aristocracy, and I won't mention the name, but they're related to the English royals. She's blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and she was born in Jamaica because her aristocratic parents just happened to be over there, and they were born when their aristocratic English nobility parents were born in the place. So it's an interesting thing when you see that, and it's St. Elizabeth Parish, where all of the high, bright, and white Jamaicans are. And it's an interesting little hookup. So we get an international thing, but there is a family situation that gets in here. And Kamala's folk were trying to get in on it through the mother because they were Hindu. Now, the dad said his background is Irish and also from India.
Hold up, wait a minute. We getting to it, y'all. We getting to it. She was pulling the whole I'm black, guys, because I say my daddy's Jamaican. Jamaica is a nationality. Jamaican is a nationality. It's not an ethnicity. There's Chinese Jamaicans, there's Indian, Hindu Jamaicans, Irish Jamaicans, and everything in between. And when she says my daddy's Jamaican, so I'm black, guys, no, upon further investigation, know about slavery, but few discuss paper genocide. We did not all come from Africa, and most of us have Aboriginal roots that were stripped away due to reclassification and miseducation. As a Native Black American and a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. If you want to learn how to trace your genealogy and apply for tribal citizenship, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com to schedule a consultation. Father is half Hindu, half Irish. And his Irish side was slave masters in Jamaica with a whole town named after them.
The Hindu thing, and he became a Marxist because that was what was going on back when he was coming of age in the early 1960s. Now, when you get this in place, you run into the fact that there are family situations. Now, when I was in Hollywood, I made a whole lot of money. I had places all over the country, and I had 2 places in Aspen, Colorado. So my ex was a social climber, and she was a ski instructor up in Aspen, of all things. So everybody wanted to go skiing with Mrs. Brown in the backcountry. So we wound up meeting billionaires and really multi-millionaires. And it's interesting because there are these family connections that are not obvious, except when you walk around Aspen. It's awful. Everybody starts at 6'1" for the females and gets up to these guys that all look like Adonis that are these great athletes. You know, it's like, damn, man, they've been breeding, you know, smart and, you know, good looking and athletic. And they all have these interesting relationships with each other that aren't obvious and that they don't make public. You had, starting with the Adams family, you had President Adams and his son, President Adams. You had the Roosevelts, Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You had the Kennedys, and, you know, and then they had muscle because Joe Kennedy Sr. was a gangster. He was a bootlegger, and he used
That's how they established Hollywood, by the way. It was a bunch of gang members that established Hollywood. The bootleggers went in there, carnies.
Yeah, I'll tell you some stuff off the record about that. So it's like you get this whole thing, and then you get the Bushes in here, and then you have the Clintons who are newbies into this whole thing. And now you have some other stuff that's going on, these peripherals.
Well, it's funny you say that the Clintons are newbies, though, because even like Bill Clinton has like a weird story. Like his dad was killed in a car accident when he was like 2. It's like once you start looking into their genealogy, they all kind of have like these weird tragic stories, and then they're just kind of become the president. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, I've lived around a lot of people who have like don't have a dad. Like they don't really go on to like go to Harvard and Yale and become president. So it's like it just makes you wonder like what is actually happening here.
And then you find something else. Look at Barack Obama. What kind of connection does Barack Obama or Barry Soetoro have with the United States? He's got a long history through his mother's side of the family. They were slave owners, and 2 of his ancestors were Confederate officers during the Civil War. One even rode with Cantrell, the guerrilla, up in...
Damn, but Obama's supposed to be our guy because he's blickety black, y'all. Obama's black, and we black, and everybody who's even a little bit of tan, that they just all of a sudden black, and we all black, y'all. But meanwhile, Obama literally descends from slave masters. Just like how Kamala Harris descends from slave masters. But forget all that, guys. Barry Obama's our guy, right?
Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, I'm bleeding black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black, I'm black, black, y'all, and I'm 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 black, 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 black,
for Christmas. So I know how to make a mean pot of greens. In fact, people used to ask me to make greens for them for Christmas. One year, I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bath.
She will be the future president in 2024. Your take on that, ma'am? And many are also saying that she will be the future president in 2024. Ma'am, so like looking ahead, Kamala Harris has also said that I'm a black woman who's gotten to the vice president post, but I will not be the last. And many are also saying that she will be the future president in 2024. Your take on that, ma'am?
I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I have no comment.
In Kansas and Missouri. He's got a connection. But even if you get away from whether or not Kamala is black, what connection does she have with the United States? Probably the least out of any candidate for president in this country's history. So you have a situation where her parents have academic visas. They're transitory. They have no intention of being permanent residents or citizens. It's passing through. And she lies a lot about it, but you've seen that, you know, when she got to Canada, how old she was, and that's her background.
Graduated from high school, wealthy Canadian.
The whole 9 yards. And she doesn't have that American vibe where you from elementary school are taught about what this country's supposed to be about. You have this thing where it's part of the Commonwealth.
Greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. You keep repeating the same old plantation bullshit, tired narrative we outgrew. Jokes on you, collard greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. Ooh.
You support reparations for black people.
I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
Now, you probably have talked to your husband about that and your father-in-law, the Earl. And, you know, they view this whole thing about being subjects in a different way than we here in the States view about being a citizen.
It's very different. Across the pond is very different.
Very different. But that's the background with Kamala, the way she was brought up. And you get the feeling that somebody is trying to become part of something, but they don't want anybody with any real connection. The more isolated they are, the more they're subject to convenient control. You know, today is tomorrow, which is why yesterday is tomorrow too, which is why we all, you know, that word salad nonsense, which is you got a silly somebody that's lazy, that's not the brightest bulb on the shelf, and is easily manipulated because somebody has done what in Hollywood they call the casting couch routine to get where they are. But at some point, if you get to the top with the casting couch, the problem is that there's nobody to sleep with after a certain point. You have to have the raw talent. And if you don't have the talent, then you're not going to do anything much. And that's what our problem is. It's who is behind her and who is controlling her.
Interrupting to tell you guys
somebody's feelings, but we got a witch running for president. That woman is the worst kind of sleaze you can ever think of. I was in California when it was going down. And I used to represent 40 years ago a whole chunk of pimps and hoes in Memphis. And I know a hoe when I see one. And when I see a hoe, I know she got a pimp. And I want to find out who the pimps are that we getting tricked out on the benefit of. Who are the pimps that this woman is working for? And I see some decent ladies out there. I've met a few of you. And I resent the fact that you got a hoe that's being your face.
That's what concerns me, is that she comes across to me like an empty vessel. And it was interesting to read, you know, I'm not saying obviously that everything this journalist wrote was real, but I do take his points about her mother being a government agent quite seriously, because of just, he says, even in her demeanor, because then when I spoke to Kamala's family members, they said, far from this depiction that she has of this, you know, warm, fluffy upbringing, that actually her mother was quite militant with her. And if we're thinking that she was involved with the government and MK Ultra, you're talking about psychological conditioning, that Kamala has been psychologically conditioned since her youth. And what's really stunning, and this is kind of what became a big question in my mind, is as she creates this book of this work of fiction as a way to blackify herself, to make black people think that she, you know, spent so much time in Harlem and she was around black aunties and black uncles. And the thing that is stunning to me is it wasn't necessary, right? You can run as a white person, you can run as an Indian. Vivek just ran as an Indian. Hillary Clinton almost won, as running as a woman, lost twice. But the point is that, like, you're allowed to be white and run. We don't have an issue with a white person becoming president of the United States. Joe Biden was just the president of the United States. So what specifically was the reason, and this is where I had to get to, that they worked so hard to blackify her, to completely ignore her plenty of white relatives? And that's what makes me think it's got to be a pretty big secret. You know what I mean? They're trying to basically obscure her true.
Tomorrow is yesterday today, so today was yesterday, and it'll be tomorrow tomorrow. That's why we have to understand today. What the hell did you just say? And you gonna fake off about being a Negro? I met a daddy. Sat next to the man for 2.5 hours at the Governor General's table down in Jamaica. My ex-wife asked him what he was. He said he was Irish and he was Hindu.
Pretty big secret. You know what I mean? They're trying to basically obscure her true lineage in a way that if you're thinking she's black, your brain's not even processing that she might be related to like a Hillary or somebody else. So that really stands out to me, is how unnecessary the blackification was. I'm coming up with this word here, blackification, but it's a bit weird.
You're getting there. See, and the other thing is, vote black if you're black, so you don't deal with the qualifications. You just vote. Skin is kin. But the problem is, she's lying about that. But the other problem is, and I don't have anything against it, you're supposed to vote for her because she's black, but she's got a white husband. So the bottom line is if she can sleep with the white husband, then you can vote for a white man for president without any feelings of guilt.
Right.
So they're trying to rely on, you got to be this, that, and the other. And one of the things that gets me is this conditioning thing. 50 years worth of propaganda to prepare for where you're going right now with this rainbow cult they're trying to impose as sort of an official cult or faith of the country. You also have something else going on. The Democratic Party was founded in the second decade of the 19th century for the purpose of protecting and spreading slavery. It perfected the art of enslavement. And one of the things that I found most scary about this, I worked for a DC think tank more than a half century ago, and we studied this. And I remember having to read the slave pamphlets that were on microfilm in the Library of Congress. And one of the secrets to the enslavement process was put the elements of slavery into the Negro's culture so they would teach slavery to themselves without realizing it. So what's happening is this party of the slave masters that put this process in place has used it for something else. They don't grow cotton anymore, but there's a plantation, but they make rainbows on this plantation, and they evoke the elements of the slave culture that are in place to get the Negroes to vote for them without thinking about it. And the person they put in becomes most vulnerable to being isolated. Hillary Clinton, for example, came from a very interesting family, Rodmans. They were staunch Republicans. She was a cheerleader for Goldwater, one of the Goldwater girls. She was chairwoman of the Young Republican chapter at Wesley All-Girls University for 3 years as a Republican until she met Bill Clinton. So then she switches over. But I find that very interesting for somebody to be saying it's okay for Hillary to flip-flop on the parties, but Hillary was always a wannabe. And her parents were very much middle class, and she wanted to get outside of that. And she had a history of really downing her husband, Bill Clinton, because of his low origins. But Clinton was a smart.
I liked the information that I learned today, and it really opened up my mind. Before, I have to say that I was a little bit more closed-minded, and sadly, I didn't really understand a lot of the things about Native American history that my mom was also have been trying to tell me about the people in America. But this really opened my mind, and it also was really, really easy information to understand. Even though it was a lot of information, it was still very, very easy to understand. So I recommend, especially for the people with closed minds or the people who don't believe some things about ancestry and Native American history of Americans and many Americans in America, I really recommend that they give this a shot and look at this information, because I do believe that it's different and that you will learn a lot.
And you learn so much about history that they don't teach in schools. They're not actually Black, but they were Native Americans. But just because of how they looked, then they would reclassify them differently. Like first they were Native, and then they became mulatto, and then they were colored, and then they were Black, and then they were African first, then American. So it's like so many different classifications, and it's sort of like keeps our true identity buried. But this, you learn how to put together your family tree. You are actually taught how to not just put together a family tree, but to connect your background with your Native heritage. And that's very important.
To the lies no more. You brought your essence working in our face to degrade our image. It's not us, it's you. It shows your level of ignorance, not ours. Now the joke's on you. Your prejudice attitude is a bust. You try to make us the butt of your jokes, but you're exposing yourself. Oh.
So instead of Kamala Harris giving us policy to benefit Black people, she gave us shaking Megan Thee Stallion. That is what she think Black people deserves.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this.
You misrepresent us, but we stand tall. Confident in our lineage, proud and strong. Your stereotypes don't define our soul. We break barriers, taking control.
And she was somebody that was isolated because she had no real connections to anything. So she became somebody that was subject to manipulation. You also have Kamala, which, by the way, is the name of a Hindu goddess, and it's not a Black name. It's a Hindu name. And you've got her, she's isolated because who are her relatives? You know, one of her relatives by marriage, his name is Jesse Smollett, the one that got caught up with that fraud thing. He's her nephew by marriage. Okay.
Wait a minute. I didn't know Jesse Smollett, who lied and said someone tried to lynch him in a Chicago snowstorm. I didn't know he was related to Kamala Harris. What? Damn, Judge Joe said all these motherfuckers inbred and related.
You get this little picture of family connection and the noose around the neck. And by the way, I interviewed several Chicago detectives and police on that, and I happen to know one that's a cop. He's back in the DMV area now. And Jesse and the bunch had been planning this for months, and they used to discuss it at this particular athletic club, and everybody knew it. And they got pictures of Jesse Smollett buying this noose during Halloween season at a costume shop. They've got it on video, and on security cameras, you can see him putting the noose around his own neck. And he had met with Kamala just before that, and she and Cory Booker, this is the same day when he flew into Chicago. They had been working on something that Conyers came up with in 1997 that is now modified and introduced as the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill.
Wow.
Remember the neck and the whole thing? They went off and then they had to withdraw it because of the fraud that came out.
Wow.
Well, see, this is something they're trying to do. And maybe this will give you an idea of how they're sneaking around here. The Emmett Till anti-lynch bill has nothing to do with Black people.
No bill they put up has anything to do with Black people.
No.
Or just the headline. But then when you read
the headline does.
Yeah.
But what it does is it puts into the American federal criminal laws for the first time sexual orientation as a victim category for criminal offenses. Now, when you think of a lynching, you think of a mob killing somebody, right? Well, the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill, one, doesn't require a mob. It can be one person. It doesn't even require a homicide. You can kidnap somebody or beat somebody. And how does that play out? What happens, let's say you have a guy who's broken up with his girlfriend or his wife, and he's feeling down, and some of his friends say, hey, man, let's go to the club. So he goes to the club with his homeboys, and he's dancing with this PYT, pretty young thing, in a tight, short dress, big boobs, hoop earrings, braids, you know, down her back, and they're having a good time exchanging spit over in the shadows and drinking wine. And then he looks down. Man, you got a heart? What are you? You got a heart on. And he busts him in the mouth. Now that's federal lynching.
Wow.
What they did with it, you see this bait and switch. Also, look at the Black Caucus. They love Kamala because she's just as big a fake as they are. If you examine the voting records for the Black Caucus, you will find something very interesting.
Is it really the Rainbow Coalition?
Yeah, because they're a member of the Liberty Caucus, which is the LGBTQIA plus caucus in Congress. I think all but 4 or 5 of them. And they do more work for the Liberty Caucus than they do for the Black Caucus. Now, we have in Memphis, for the 9th District of Tennessee, we have Steve Cohen. He's white, he's Jewish, he's gay, and guess what? He is chairman of the Black Caucus's Reparations Committee.
Ain't us wrong, but we stand right, rise above all hate, unified, no debate. Broke free from the chains we face by all the noise, but keep talking, you're the fool, we play it cool. Collard greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. You keep repeating the same old plantation bullshit, tired narrative we outgrew, jokes on you.
So I know how to make a mean pot of greens. I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bathtub.
Collard greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. Ooh. Collard greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. Ooh. Same type of directives that we outgrew, but we see through your facade. Jokes on you, jokes on you.
I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street. Everyone's like, you know, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president. Yeah. So we're both Indian, yes, but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear.
So he's also holds that same position for the Liberty Caucus. So what is this? When you look at 5 years ago, they had that circus for 2 weeks about whether to have a formal committee set up to study reparations. And then 2 weeks later, on the first voice vote, no debate, they passed what's known as, quote, the Gay Reparations Act.
Okay, so this is what we're doing is we're using black people as a smokescreen.
Yeah,
to allow,
and that's what they're doing with
LGBTQ
Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
You take a significant voting group that has emotive needs and cravings to belong, and here you give them an opportunity to identify with somebody who has absolutely no connections with them. Even if it was black, she's not somebody who has a prior generation in America. She is the immigrant herself because her parents were not immigrants. She is the immigrant. And by a technical call, she's qualified to run for president. See, the Constitution defines citizenship in 2 places. 1, how to be a citizen, and 2, qualifications for being president or vice president. So technically, you can be a citizen, but you can't be president, like, say, Cruz down in Texas. He ran, but nobody brought it up. He was born in Canada, so he was not born on American soil. But see, Kamala was born in the same hospital my ex-wife was born in when my now late mother-in-law was a paternity nurse in that same hospital. So she's born on American soil. So I don't think they had any intention of having somebody just come in right there and getting in that easy way, but she matches the bare bones qualifications. But you get somebody like that, they're easy to manipulate and control because they've got no connections with this place.
I think it's quite a tell that Kamala doesn't have any children of her own. It's something that I think is concerning. I know that the left freaked out and Taylor Swift posted a picture of her with a cat when J.D. Vance accurately said that you don't want a bunch of like childless cat ladies running things. And I agree with that. And I also agree that similarly in the exact same vein that it is concerning when you have basically a coalition of childless cat black women and so many homosexual men, people like Cory Booker. I don't know if everybody knows he's homosexual, but and in these positions of power who are informing policy very removed from a certain kind of compassion. And I know people, they tried to make it seem like you meant, oh, women that are struggling with fertility issues. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people that have zero inclination, desire toward family, but they want power, right? And it genuinely scares me when I think about this, because they are naturally nihilistic. Where they gain that power and that assertion from within themselves, to me, is quite troubling. And their ability to inflict pain. I did a lot of translating part in the pieces that the journalist that exposed Emmanuel Macron's upbringing and the fact that his wife was actually born a man. He spoke about this at length, about when you have someone who was raised up like this, someone who was sexually assaulted when he was young, introduced to sort of these perverted sexual things. We're talking about so much sexual perversion in the government, their ability to inflict pain on others.
Okay, I thought we was talking about Kamala Harris. She done lost me. She talking about Macron's wife was born a man and blah. Let's see if we can skip ahead a little bit. It's a 2-hour-long interview. We only through the first hour. Oh Lord, to get back on subject, Candace.
Almost as a fact, who are stealing the identity of
person. And you pointed this out earlier. What happens when you have no legacy? Dogs are part of our. So what happens? This war party about. I was in California when a lot of this was going on, and she and Willie Brown.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
she has no stake in
now
we're back to Kamala.
Her connections are suspect, but her connections make her vulnerable. It's like I was in California when a lot of this was going on, and she and Willie Brown got detailed in the LA Times and the San Francisco Chronicle a lot about what they were doing. So you're in your 20s, and this is 30 years ago, and you're getting paid $72,000 a month for showing up at 2 meetings a month, maybe 15 hours for the month, and everybody else on this panel that you're on is 65 to 70 years old with a lifetime in medicine, and you have absolutely no medical background, and you're getting paid $72,000 a year because you're a mistress to somebody that's 60 years old and has put you in there, and then he gets you sort of promotion to another aspect of the same setup, and you get $120,000 a year for showing up for 2 meetings a month, and she misses 20% of them. And this is 30 years ago. $120,000 30 years ago is making $250,000 now.
Wow. And people need to know this is the true story of Kamala. People aren't making this up because it's election season. You can go back and read the article in the LA Times, San Francisco Chronicle. I've read them. They were basically like this woman.
Damn, I heard she was with Willie Brown. I think he was maybe the mayor at the time or something, but I didn't know that he put her on payroll. She must have had that WAP. She must have had that hawk tour for him to put her on payroll. Give her a nice lush position like that. Talk about fucking your way to the top, huh?
Woman is sleeping around and she's making a ton of money. She slept with Willie Brown and he's just putting her into. Yeah, that's right. Putting her into positions of power.
And then there's the other thing too. They talked about how she got on with the DA's office in Alameda County and also some other things, and even getting to be U.S. Senator, which I found very peculiar because, now senators are elected by constitutional amendment. They used to be appointed by the states. She is the first person, the only person in California's history to run with no Republican opponent for U.S. Senator.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. See, it's interesting, the whole 9 yards. And then there's another suspect thing. One West Bank, George Soros was the major investor in One West Bank. Mnuchin, later the Obama administration, and for 1 year in the Trump administration before he got fired, he was CEO. This is when they were having that mortgage foreclosure fraud situation.
And giving me the direction I always needed, because growing up, I did not know about my family, nor did I know how to find out about my family. So the fact that I tried other avenues and I felt like I was getting scammed, going through his consultation, I really felt like someone was actually trying to help me out and throwing a lot of fat on my head, bro. A lot of the things that he dropped, a lot of the gems that he's going to show you, wholeheartedly, man, hang on tight, because that shit blew my mind.
No, Mike is the real deal. His information is real. He's a humble brother, and he's all about the information. He's not about, personal gain or personal applause, personal credit. This is about our nation. It's not about one individual, but it's about us collectively as a people. And Mike is all about that, So we stand behind the brother 100%.
If you have any doubt, get it out your head immediately. So yeah, like I'm going to continue to work with Mike as much as I can. So I want to say thank you, Mike, for actually taking the time out and talk with me and my husband. Like you definitely informed us on a lot of things. And the people out there that's watching, he will also inform you on a lot of things that you may not even know about. So I want to say thank you again, Mike.
All right. I had 3 neighbors lost their properties behind this fraud. So just about every county in California returned indictments against Mnuchin and One West Bank. There were 5,200 plus counts of indictments returned. 5,200. Well, Soros and Mnuchin raised a lot of money for KAMALA, quite a few $1 million for her to run for the office of Attorney General of the state of California. When she got elected, she used her authority to consolidate all of these indictment counts and dismiss them. 3 weeks later, George Soros sells One West Bank for $3.42 billion. And then they raised a lot of money to get her elected as U.S. Senator without Republican opposition. Now, can you imagine California with no Republican candidate running against the Democratic Party candidate? See, that's how she gets in. And at that point, she was Indian.
Oh, yeah. She was sworn in as Indian.
Yeah. So she wasn't talking about being black. I find something else, too. If you're part white and you're part black, what are you as far as Americans concerned? You're black. You're part Asian and part black. America takes you as black. So how does she get to be Indian, recognized as such if she's got black in her? She doesn't.
No, she's without question Irish Indian. There's no question about it. She's Irish Indian.
You get this mythology in, but she's easy to control because A, she's lazy. I know a lot of lawyers, now senior members of a firm that I recruited to law school way back when at UCLA back in early 70s. And they'll tell you, she was not one that put in a lot of work when she prepared for a case. She'd shorten a hemline up every day of the trial, and somebody's supposed to be impressed. And we have somebody that counted on other people doing the work, and she did the casting couch thing to get to the top. But at the top, what are you going to do?
Exactly. If you're
You're
not
going to
qualified.
deal with Putin? He's probably got something waiting in the far wing of the Kremlin that looks a lot better than this 60-year-old woman. Xi Jinping, you know, he's going to be inscrutable and no.
Well, you even saw when Putin sat down with Tucker, he was very clear. He's like, I don't deal with your presidents. He heavily implied it's just a show, and I deal with the CIA. Like, your presidents are not running the country. I deal with the CIA. And this was why the media freaked out when Tucker was going out there, because it's kind of, I think now, a known thing that the people that purport to be in charge are just puppets, and there's people behind the scenes that are pulling
somebody's feelings, but we got a witch running for president. That woman is the worst kind of sleaze you can ever think of. I was in California when it was going down. And I used to represent 40 years ago a whole chunk of pimps and hoes in Memphis. And I know a hoe when I see one. And when I see a hoe, I know she got a pimp. And I want to find out who the pimps are that we getting tricked out on the benefit of.
So like looking ahead, Kamala Harris has also said that I'm a black woman who's got into the vice president post, but I will not be the last. And many are also saying that she will be the future president in 2024. Your take on that?
I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I have no comment.
The supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, you know, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president. Yeah. So we're both Indian, yes, but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be
Feud on the Democrat side.
Oh, gosh. Do you remember when Kamala Harris, she had that radio interview with Breakfast Club? It was released. We talked about it. She admitted that she smoked pot when they asked her if she was pro legalizing marijuana. She said, "Of course I smoked marijuana. Half my family's from Jamaica. Are you kidding me?" Well, her own father had a problem with that. But listen to what she said on the Breakfast Club.
They say you oppose legalizing weed.
That's not true.
I know.
and look, I joke about it, half joking. Half my family's from Jamaica. Are you kidding me?
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like
And I inhale. I did inhale.
Okay. It's real hysterical for the former attorney general of that state to talk about doing something illegal, laughing about it, giggling about it, and trying to get some traction for it. Among the people that were upset by it, her dad, Donald Harris, from Jamaica, an economics professor at Stanford University, says this: "My dear departed grandmothers, as well as my deceased parents, must be turning in their grave right now to see their family's name, reputation, and proud Jamaican identity being connected in any way, jokingly or not, with the fraudulent stereotype of pot-smoking, joy-seeking, and in pursuit of identity politics." Man, yeah. What a blast at his daughter who wants to be the next president. No kidding. He added, and he had sent this statement to Jamaica Global Online. He said, "Speaking for myself and my immediate Jamaican family, we wish to categorically disassociate ourselves from this travesty."
Very much the military-industrial complex, talking about Halliburton, we're talking about the CIA. You know, the war machine is telling them what to do, what to say. They just need someone that can at least read the teleprompter. And Joe Biden stopped being that. You know, he stopped being able to even just read the teleprompter. So they said, okay, we've got to go to our B option, which is Kamala.
And then look at this. There was no primary vetting.
I know. Incredible.
There wasn't even anything the old-time way where you had convention ballots going on. The last time she put herself to the test, she had to withdraw early in the primary season because she wasn't doing anything at all. And then you have this other thing where how do you jump from being the least popular vice president or president in the country's history if you take the last 70-some years of polling, and all of a sudden you become a front runner? It just doesn't happen. But then you look at what's going on with the press that, you know, I'm astonished at the press now. It's like they're the propaganda engines for the Democratic Party.
They've always been that, you know?
Well, no, they weren't. Not back when. You'd have a report that said, okay, Donald Trump claimed that so on and so forth. Meanwhile, his Democratic opponent made a counterclaim. You wouldn't have Donald Trump lied about this or Donald Trump made a false assertion.
Looking ahead, Kamala Harris has also said that I'm a black woman who's gotten to the vice president post, but I will not be the last. And many are also saying that she will be the future president in 2024. Your take on that, ma'am?
I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
Right. I guess what I mean to say is that I think the media, I shouldn't say has always been Democratic. Whichever candidate was going to get them the war they wanted. And I think right now we are on the brink of another, they want World War III. I've been saying this for 2 years on my show. It's been very obvious the way they're covering everything. We're going to get dragged into another war. And I don't think that, I actually know, because he has said this, that Donald Trump is their war candidate. You know, Trump has been very much, he started out much more isolationist, full stop. He was like, every boy needs to come back home, America first. Now he definitely has already said that he doesn't support what's happening in Ukraine, that we shouldn't be involved in Ukraine. That's not going to work for the war class. They're laundering money over there. I mean, I think they want to make this thing bigger. And Kamala is just an empty vessel. She'll do what they'll say. Trump is got his guts. You know, he's got his wits about him. He's going to say, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do that. He's too strong of a person.
He's somebody actually in charge, not a figurehead.
Right.
Now, Bill Clinton.
And they can't have that.
Bill Clinton was a hillbilly, but he had leadership capacity and he was a strong man. I remember something that I saw him do that was very fascinating. 40-some years ago, they had a coalition down here in Arkansas, and they met up in Jonesboro at a synagogue. I think it was Jonesboro. And I went down there to consult with them, and they had an organization that had farm workers, League of Women Voters, Jewish Defense League, etc., and a bunch of ministers. And these night riders were coming by in flatbed trucks with shotguns and rifles, intimidating everybody. So they got the bright idea of, let's call the governor. He's a young guy. So they did. Bill Clinton showed up. buffed out dude, then he's big, you know. And he had his Arkansas State Police guards, you know, and he made them wait inside the synagogue or church.
And shout out to the Prince of POP. He says East Indians have a holiday where they step in cow shit with their feet.
Hurt somebody's feelings, but we got a witch running for president. That woman is the worst kind of sleaze you can ever think of. I was in California when it was going down. And I used to represent 40 years ago a whole chunk of pimps and hoes in Memphis. And I know a hoe when I see one. And when I see a hoe, I know she got a pimp. And I want to find out who the pimps are that we getting tricked out on the benefit of.
Hey, if you're looking to get genealogy consultation, I highly recommend Mike. You know, he was very thorough, prompt, very knowledgeable. Even taught me some stuff about the background of Indian ancestry and heritage that I didn't know. The biggest piece of it was he taught me how to pull records and really dig into those records to make sure that I have things to match up to be able to take back for my citizenship. So I really appreciate everything he does, and I highly recommend Mike as your genealogist.
Who are the pimps that this woman is working for? And I see some decent ladies out there. I've met a few of you. And I resent the fact that you got a hoe that's being your face. You see, tomorrow is yesterday today, so today was yesterday, and it'll be tomorrow tomorrow. That's why we have to understand today. What the hell did you just say? And you gonna fake off about being a Negro? I met a daddy. Sat next to the man for 2.5 hours at the Governor General's table down in Jamaica. My ex-wife asked him what he was. He said he was Irish and he was Hindu. She said, you don't have anybody black in your family? He said, no.
I see dead people. Yeah, well, you know, it's like this. Oh, we got to go support the sister. We can get a black woman in the white. No, you're not getting one. Her daddy says his entire background is either Caucasian Irish or Caucasian Hindu. His Irish ancestors owned a bunch of slaves, and none of his ancestors were slaves. He has a grandmother who is a dark-skinned Hindu who was a house servant. So where does Kamala get her black ancestry, since her mother is classified as a Caucasian Tamil Hindu Brahmin caste person? They're dark-skinned, but they're known anthropologically as Indo-Aryans, I-N-D-O hyphen.
Hey, monster on the beat, ho, Debo, any rap nigga, he a free throw, man down, call her Amber Lambs, tell him breathe, bro, nail a nigga to the cross, he walk around like Tizo. What's up with these jabroni ass niggas trying to see Compton? The industry can hate me, fuck them all and they mama. How many options you really got? I mean, it's too many options. I'm finna pass on this body, I'm John Stockton. Beat your ass and hide the Bible if God watching.
So nice. Are you stressed for making Indian food?
Oh my God, you do it at a taste just, oh my, you have no idea. This is how my mother kept all of her stuff.
This is so funny. I told my dad I was like bringing over the stuff from the store. He's like, obviously I put them in Taster's Choice.
But this literally was how my mother kept all of this stuff.
That's so funny.
What is that?
Do they tell each
I
other?
don't know.
Hi guys, it's Mindy. I'm here in my kitchen. And today we are cooking, but we have a very special guest. Very special. Senator Kamala Harris.
Hi guys.
Sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas. Certified boogeyman, I'm the one that up to score with him. Walking down whole time, I know he got some hoe in him. Pole on him, extort shit, bully the flow on him. Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not ever go to cell block 1. To any bitch that talk to him and they in love, just make sure you hide your little sister from him. They tell me Chubb's the only one that get your hand-me-downs and party at the party playing with his nose now. And Baca got a weird case, why is he around? Certified lover boys, certified pedophiles. Wop, 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 that fuck 'em up. Wop, 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 I'ma do my stuff.
Many know about slavery, but few discuss paper genocide. We did not all come from Africa, and most of us have Aboriginal roots that were stripped away due to reclassification and miseducation. As a Native Black American and a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. If you want to learn how to trace your genealogy and apply for tribal citizenship, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com to schedule a consultation.
I am not a slave, I was born to slide, I am not afraid. Hop about the K, oh yeah, free to God, they went out of state. I'm a child of God, I do not belong to the United States. Fuck Black History, tell Uncle Sam he can catch a fade. I went to hell, I mean school, graduated at the top of my class. Still never thought I was over my peers. We did that time together 12 years. Ain't that some movie? I think that it is. They won't control me, I'm really a member. I traveled that road, I came back with the jewels for 'em. When I pull up, they pee how the roof gone. We some dog killers, won't chew bones. Know we all spit 'em, we supreme. Somewhere I read a nigga had a dream.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hit the like button on the way in. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. We've got some new news by way of Candace Owens and Judge Joe Brown. You know, Judge Joe Brown has been dragging Kamala Harris for filth for quite a while now, but Candace Owens and Judge Joe have apparently teamed up. So let's take a look at what we have in store this evening.
Out in California. So can you explain to us how you met her father, just how that came about?
What was going on is well, this is a convoluted story. Magic Johnson's mother, a fine woman, and one of her buddies, who was the oldest sister of a personal friend of mine, would always involve me in these projects with the islands, right? So they got me down there, and I was supposed to participate in the youth program in Jamaica. So I was the guest of the Prime Minister and the Governor General.
And who was that at the time?
Well, let's not get into that because there's some complications with that. And my ex and I, we were attendees at this dinner, so we got introduced to everybody's favorite Hindu professor. And he was sitting next to my ex-wife, or wife at the time, for a while. So we all had this back and forth questioning thing at the table. So it was quite interesting. And I recalled running into him back in the 60s. He and his wife were grad students up in the Bay Area, and I was an undergrad at UCLA. So there was a back and forth between Los Angeles, man, where you go crazy, and then go to the asylum up in the Bay Area. So
if you guys aren't familiar with who the man is that he's referencing when he says Hindu professor, he's talking about Kamala Harris's father, Donald J. Harris, which is on the right of this photo with his wife at the time, I believe, Kamala's mother. So if you guys have heard rumors that Kamala Harris is black and you think she's black because you've also heard rumors that her folks come from Jamaica, no, Jamaican is a nationality. It's not an ethnicity. There's Asian Jamaicans, there's Irish Jamaicans, German Jamaicans, Hindu Jamaicans. More specifically, Kamala Harris's father is Irish and Hindu, and his Irish side of the family were slave masters that have a town named after them in Jamaica called Brownstown. Don't take my word for it, look it up. So not only is she trying to cosplay as an ethnicity that she has absolutely no family heritage tied to, but she's also a direct descendant of slave masters. Yeah, truth is stranger than fiction, ain't it?
it was interesting what was going on back then.
So how was his demeanor when you guys are at this dinner and you're in Jamaica? What do you think about him?
He's reserved.
Reserved. Okay.
Dignified, laid back.
Mm-hmm. But still involved in, and my understanding is that he's been involved in politics actually for a long time, has had an interest in politics his entire life, I would say.
Yes, quite. I'd call him a Marxist.
A Marxist. And that is exactly what I've heard from a family member of his, that he, from the time he was very young, was always involved in Marxist meetings and Marxist groups, kind of a dyed-in-the-wool commie. I don't think that's something that he's ashamed of, by the way. I think he wrote about in the Jamaican Global Online how he was sort of raised up on the politics via who he purports to be his grandmother, Christiana Brown. But it's interesting that you said you were introduced to a Hindu.
And again, if you guys don't know what being Marxist is or what Marxism means, the classical definition of Marxism is a political, economic, and social philosophy that analyzes the history of humanity through the lens of class struggle and economic factors. Again, that's the classical definition, but in pop culture and in politics, we know Marxism to be in line with communism. And when we think of communism, we know like Soviet era Russia, right? Fidel Castro, that kind of stuff. So Marxism, communism is very anti-American, to say the least. The organization that is the United States of America vehemently opposes anything that has to do with Marxism or communism. So that's very interesting that that's, you know, how one of Kamala Harris's parents viewed the world. You know, she goes on to be the vice president, and daddy's a communist Marxist.
The introduction.
That was the introduction. Okay. And you, but it's interesting that you said you were introduced to a Hindu professor. What made you think that he was Hindu?
That's the introduction.
That was the introduction. Okay. And your wife?
What is she?
No, did she get to talk to him about that?
She talked to him, and it was interesting because at that time there was no reason to put him with anybody special until you started putting all of it together. He was a Marxist, and when he was up in the Bay Area, a lot of things were going on up there. That was Liberty Park up there, where in 1964, a lot of what was going on that led to the rousing unrest of the 60s and the public demonstrations was happening. My in-laws were from up there, and I didn't know them then because I think my ex-wife was born the same year that Kamala was born. So, you know, this was before all of that, but this was the locus of a lot of things going on. The Black Panther Party was up there, developed. So it was pretty radical in Berkeley, Oakland, Richmond, and this is where the action was. UCLA was in Los Angeles, that was a bit more civilized, you know, really wild up there in the Bay Area. So he gravitated to that. That's the way I would analyze it. So there was a Marxist thing up there. Also, this was during the rise of Jim Jones, which is another thing. You know Jim Jones, the Kool-Aid and the picnic. Kamala's sponsor, Willie Brown, Maxine Waters, and some other people Nancy Pelosi were staunch supporters of Jim Jones.
Interesting. So some of Kamala Harris's political accomplices were down with the Jim Jones cult? Oh, okay. All right. And Judge Joe Brown is known to be a man of, you know, great reputation, but somebody do some fact checking on that.
Interesting. Yes, you need to look into that. You'll find some very interesting things like, hey, this was your mentor and he was a supporter of this. So it was a center for a lot of radicalism at the time.
So it's so funny how life happens this year, and I don't even know what the reason was. Actually, I do. A friend of mine sent me a book, and the book was called Chaos, and she said, "You'll love this for your birthday." I read, and I opened the book, and I couldn't put it down. It was the subtitle of the book is something along the lines of Charles Manson, MK Ultra in the 1960s. Okay. And essentially, it's this reporter who was just supposed to write a magazine article on like the 30th anniversary of the Manson murders. And he had no horse in the race, starts calling around, making some calls. He was very well known, and everyone was scared to talk to him.
And can Judge Joe Brown please give Candace Owens the number to his stylist? Because Candace Owens, for some reason, I don't think she's that much older than me. I just turned 30, but goddamn it, she dresses like a Amish woman. Meanwhile, the judge is suited and booted. I mean, Candace, you don't have to dress like the Amish. Help her out, Judge.
Long story short, he ends up finding that the CIA was intimately involved, and now this is public knowledge. You can look this up on Wikipedia, that Charles Manson was a Fed, that the CIA was involved, was there the night of the Manson murders. It takes him 30 years. He ended up getting fired from the magazine. He ends up writing this book. He went completely broke because he had to do so many FOIA requests because he was going, what is happening? What really actually happened on this night? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because elements of this book, as he goes through understanding that the feds were involved with a lot of this radicalism that people thought was organic, whether we're talking about the hippies movement, LSD, things that were happening that to the public seemed to be sort of these natural movements, actually entailed operations from the Fed, COINTELPRO, MK Ultra. You're talking about the Black Panthers. Some students broke into the FBI office at that time and were able to get documents which showed that the feds were tracking a bunch of people. Obviously, we know that with Martin Luther King. And this journalist who was from San Francisco and attended Berkeley recently wrote a piece saying that he knew that Kamala's mother was involved with the feds and the program MK Ultra. And when I read this,
damn, not them alleging that Kamala's mama was down with the CIA federal black op operation known as MK Ultra, where they renditioned American citizens and gave them psychedelic drugs to experiment on a whole bunch of crazy stuff. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Lord, why is it that these political elite, they always come from families that are shrouded in mystery or scandals? This is odd. Lord.
It seemed so far out. And then as I was learning from Donald's family that he was a dyed-in-the-wool communist, and I'm learning that he was extremely secretive, and I'm kind of thinking, why was Kamala's mom, who was like a top-rated scientist?
Maybe that's why they didn't seem to be able to stand it.
Yeah, true. Obama too. His sperm donor of a father is Kenyan, but he was raised by this Hawaiian Filipino dude in Hawaii. Obama's mother is like a Rothschild heiress, Illuminati type broad, and his daddy ran a CIA death squad. So yeah, these folks, when you take a look at their family tree, Lord, oh Lord, it's oh so odd.
Each other after a while. There seems to have been some great animosity between mom and dad. When they broke up, you might be hitting on the source of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That was very widespread. People don't understand what that was like back in the 60s to be active. We would have meetings or gatherings, and 3 weeks later, the FBI is hauling you in and quoting to you what you said. And you'd say, yeah, freedom of speech, First Amendment. You got that? No, I'm not going to tell you this because you'll get me for making a knowingly false statement. Screw you. I'll take the fifth on that, or get me back. And they'd always manage to get you so they could take your phone book and get the numbers out of it. So you took to no longer carrying your black book with you, because no telling when the FBI is going to pick you up. And by the way, I was the last judge on that James Earl Ray case, and I know what the FBI did.
I really liked the information that I learned today, and it really opened up my mind. Before, I have to say that I was a little bit more closed-minded, and sadly, I didn't really understand a lot of the things about Native American history that my mom was also have been trying to tell me about the people in America, that this really opened my mind, and it also was really, really easy information to understand. Even though it was a lot of information, it was still very, very easy to understand. So I recommend, especially for the people with closed minds or the people who don't believe some things about ancestry and Native American history of Americans and many Americans in America, I really recommend that they give this a shot and look at this information, because I do believe that it's different and that you will learn a lot.
And you learn so much about history that they don't teach in schools. They're not actually Black, but they were Native Americans. But just because of how they looked, then they would reclassify them differently. Like first they were Native, and then they became mulatto, and then they were colored, and then they were Black, and then they were African first, then American. So it's like so many different classifications, and it sort of like keeps our true identity buried. But this, you learn how to put together your family tree. You are actually taught how to not just put together a family tree, but to connect your background with your Native heritage. And that's very important.
Quick summation to set the background. Ray had absolutely nothing to do with King dying. The FBI ordered that hit. They recruited a two-man sniper team, not one, from Quantico Marine Sniper School, which was right across the tarmac from the FBI school. They supplied the weapon, which is an XM21, which is a modified M14. I do have in various places around the country the serial numbers for the 5 of them they got on an invoice late December 1967, and 5,000 rounds of the ammunition that are identical in aspects to what they pulled out of King's body. The next thing is the Justice Department ordered them to return the 5 rifles. April 68, that's the month King was assassinated, and they claim they lost one. That's the murder weapon. And they have the serial numbers for the 4 they did return, so they only made 63 of them at the time. So the FBI is suspect. This COINTELPRO developed later, but they had the SIS unit. And if anybody wants to read about that, get the Glass House tapes written by Louis Tackwood. Tackwood scared the hell out of me and a lot of other people. We knew him as supposedly somebody who had been a medic in the NOM, and he came back and he was treating people who got injured in the 60s. It was chaotic in those days. And I remember I was in law school and I went to watch this murder trial downtown LA, and they brought it in. I said, that's Tackwood. Not only was he not a snitch, they introduced him as Lieutenant Louis Tackwood, Vice Commander of the SIS unit for LAPD. Everybody was going, oh man, this dude knows everything, but he didn't tell on everybody. But this was real. And I know 15, 16 people that I was acquainted with that got shot to death who were active in these movement situations.
This has been a strange election. The Dems have made it apparent that they are zealous for the blood of babies. Kamala Harris is the first vice president.
Good Lord, what is Candace Owens going to try to sell us right now, guys? You already know this is an advertisement of some sort. Hey, we all have businesses. We all have services. We got to keep the lights on. You know, I'm a full-time genealogist helping people rediscover their family roots. But let's see what I almost called her Kamala Harris because she also has a, family heritage that's immigrant based, and she does a lot of cosplaying and identity politics, just like Kamala. But let's see what Candace has for sale here, guys. Let's see.
Candidate to ever visit an abortion facility. As First Things reported, Tim Walz supports the right to infanticide.
What is it? A donation to Tim Walz campaign? What is it? Can I get to it, Candace? You want our money, but for what?
Did you hear me? Infanticide is the taking of a baby's life after birth. It is like
infanticide. Okay, I get it. That's terrible. That's terrible. Where's the money going?
That insane. The media has dubbed this the abortion election. We must take a stand against it.
I've never heard of this election called the abortion election. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. I also don't watch the news, but is this really called the abortion election?
It's evil. When you join forces with Preborn, the largest pro-life organization in the nation, you are
okay. So I'm supposed to give money to this organization because they claim to be pro-life and they gonna save the babies from being butchered. I got it, Candace. I got it. If you guys want to donate, you know what to do. Candace is a saint, y'all. She's a saint. She's just trying to save the babies, y'all.
So obviously, by the way, you've said something very big in terms of a lot of people who are young and are not well read up on history, real history. What they learn in the classroom is essentially a fairy tale. I've known that the FBI killed MLK. Most people don't understand the FBI killed MLK. But why? They were tapping him, they were threatening him, they were,
Damn, and that's so wild. I didn't hear Candace Owens touch on conspiracies like the FBI killing MLK until after she got fired by the Daily Wire. Candace, you're not slick. You want your black card back. You want to invite to the annual cookout. I get it. You're going hard on Kamala. You're trying to defend the honor of Janet Jackson. Now you're looking into the MLK assassination and civil rights stuff. Candace, we see through you. Whether or not you get your black card back, it is not up for me to decide. This is a collective, community-wide thing. But she's trying, guys. She's trying oh so hard.
Everything was crazy.
Bless her heart.
And we could talk about JFK too, but what was their reason for being so obsessed with the Black Panthers? With they murdered many of the Panthers as well. They murdered Martin.
Oh Lord, whoa! It's like just yesterday, Candace Owens was saying, "Fuck George Floyd." That cop didn't kill him. It doesn't matter if that cop is in prison for murder for 22 years. George Floyd was a crackhead, right? Fuck the black community. I work for the Jewish folks on the Daily Wire now. Rah, 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 rah. But as soon as she gets fired, she's talking about MLK assassinations and Black Panther Party struggles and civil rights legislation and Kamala Harris's heritage. Oh, we see through you, Candace. At least those with half a brain do.
Luther King Jr. And it's also very scary that they can do these things and then print out textbooks that say, oh no, this random guy did it, so what was their reason? What was their obsession with wanting to infiltrate these movements?
They were concerned about what was going on in the NAM. There's a big hookup with everybody that we've been talking about, also Obama's people, Barry Soetoro's people, and the NAM. The idea, for instance, the memoranda we got a hold of with the King assassination thing, they were not worried about him starting civil rights back up. That was dead. Civil rights was dead and gone by the mid-1960s. It had been replaced by militancy, and the FBI memorandum, actually they were discussing whether he'd be more dangerous as a dead martyr or is alive somebody to galvanize the anti-war movement and revitalize labor. Those were the two things they were concerned about. I recruited John Huggins, Bunchy Carter, Geronimo Pratt, Elaine Brown, Nat Clark, and a few other people who were in the Panthers to UCLA back in the 60s. And it was the same thing with them. What were they going to do about getting people wrapped up in this militancy of saying, we're not going to be down on our knees while somebody beats us across the head anymore and somebody else feels guilty. We're going to do something about it. And I've seen the stories that came out of the assassination of John and Bunchy at UCLA. Hell, I was there. They ran right past me when not John, but his assassins are running right past me. They'd shot John in the back twice, and he died.
All right, Pop ranting a little bit, guys. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. I will forever speak about the elephant in the room. This is a 2-hour-long interaction here, and Pop is, I don't know if he's off that yak. They ain't got no chapters or nothing to skip through the juicy parts. Good Lord, y'all. We just going to have to power through here. Bear with me, guys. I normally watch everything on 2x speed. I know a lot of y'all can't handle it, so we just going to do 1.25 speed, okay? Allow me to at least do 1.25 speed because Pop need to get to the point.
of that, but not before he set up and fired 6 shots at him, the guy that shot him, and 3 others running down the hallway. Elaine Brown and I were getting ready to go up some stairs when this went on. So it's interesting. The LAPD detectives that were investigating the homicides, they wound up calling some of us and say, could you meet us at, of all places, Denny?
Oh my gosh, Candace is trying so hard. Look at her little layout that she created at her little home studio, right? Well, what is she trying to tell us? So, okay, so the Amish garb isn't just her lack of style. I think it's virtue signaling, because we also see some kind of Roman Catholic-esque cross with a depiction of Jesus or something. We got some books here, some photos of some black people, some photos of some black people. Guys, she's trying her hardest to be like, hey guys, I'm still controlled opposition. I'm down with the good down. Look at me uphold these good Christian values and good Christian persona, but also I have to pander to the black folks. So let me make sure I got this dark ass Negro in the back. Man's is so dark we cannot see his eyes nor his mouth. He has to be smiling, but we just see black face. And over here, clearly some melanated people as well. And I'm just wondering, Candace, why did you never show these photos until after you get fired from the Daily Wire? It's such a mystery, guys. It's such a mystery. It's kind of like what Donald Trump says about Kamala. Oh, Kamala was Asian, and then all of a sudden she turned into a black person. Well, Candace, you were always a coon, Candace, but now you're trying to turn into a black person.
Why not at the police precinct? Because it's not safe. Somebody on our side is not working on our side. They're working with something else. And we have cause to be fearful of our lives, meaning they, the detectives. So we would have these meetings in some weird places and we'd discuss stuff, and they'd say, you know, we're trying to make a bust, but only people that know are in our department. And when we get there, somebody's already told and
Yeah, so
they've gone.
that was a huge piece of that chaos book, was that it made me understand that the feds have people at the LAPD office that do the cleanups, that are watching everybody, see what they're investigating, and also at the medical examiner's office, the coroner's office, like making sure that the reports say what they want them to say, so that they can present their case. I mean, he showed from top to bottom, like judges, lawyers, the LAPD. I would never live in LA after reading this book, because you realize it's just an entire operation. They can make you disappear, they'll kill you, and you'll be none the better. And that almost directly ties in with what we're learning about the Diddy case, which is like, okay, he knew who to call at the LAPD to come over and to make something disappear if things got out of hand, or if somebody was shot or somebody got hurt. And so this has been going on, and I think this discussion is really important since the 60s. I've been really working hard for people to wake up about who your government is. But I'm fascinated that you say that you think it was about the war, because that really was my takeaway from that book, Chaos, was they needed the hippies generation to end, and having this big fake staged Hollywood murder that the CIA was actually involved in, and Charles Manson was a Fed, was a way to traumatize with propaganda, was to traumatize the public, the hippie communes, everyone's love rock and roll, let's not go to war. And he basically said overnight, because of these horrific murders, people started locking their doors, they were afraid of hippies, and the music died that day. Nobody wanted anything with like peace, love, rock and roll, and LSD, because they were just all told and following this case. So we're talking about a psychological operation that was enacted on the public to create a mass psychosis. And you're virtually saying the exact same thing. What was their worry? Well, people didn't want to go to war, and they had war on the mind, and they wanted to get to war, and they couldn't have anybody who was militantly against it or peacefully against it like the hippies were.
There's another cook up too. We were talking about that rainbow thing. It's interesting how they got started. In the late mid-60s, they're going around all over the country talking about this. And it was a coalition of those who hated that they weren't men. Those were the feminists, the ones that hated men, some of the lesbians, the ones that hated that they weren't normal men. That were some of the gays, the ones that hated that they weren't strong men. The soy boys, so to speak. And then the big chunk was this other, hey man, war is a man thing, man. You know, it's all about love, man. We got to have love power, man, flower power. men are about war. You have to change the way men are raised from boys so they're more into expressing themselves. So you got this thing there that had the overwhelming ballast. And that is the impetus for what led us to where we are now. And this was an important thing. It was an anti-man thing that developed because of this perception that men are responsible for war. Forget about the fact that we've got a large component of the military now and some striving to be in combat arms that are female. But
okay, guys, I can do it. I apologize. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. We are here to see if Judge Joe Brown has anything new to expose on Kamala Harris, her family, her heritage, her genealogy. It seems like for everything he says that's profoundly providing much needed exposure to Kamala, for everything he says that exposes her, he says like 30 other things that are kind of unrelated. I'm not sure, guys. We are going to do a little bit of skipping. Let's see if we can get back to Camel Toe Kamala.
it was perceived to be in a situation where Hollywood's movies to get in a movie, and you can see the spread.
You talking about Hollywood now?
Foxy Brown with Pam.
You're talking about Foxy Brown now?
As them, and then you can feminize the whole public.
You talking about feminine or feminizing the masses?
Girls and their favorite aunts. So they ideate on feminist stuff like
we still on the feminism.
Say you're a man, that means if you happen to be on the Titanic and it goes down, you say, ma'am, you and your child may have.
Now we talking about the Titanic, y'all. Oh shit. Thank God I sped ahead.
Mockingbird, after they shot JFK, they had them on payroll to.
Now we back on JFK assassination conspiracies. Oh Lord.
It's a propaganda thing that they've been laying out there for a long time. And back in the 60s, if you were at the right college campus, you could hear them planning it. Like join both political parties to create.
We're still on the politics, y'all. Hold up.
Which you can see them using on Diddy. And
oh, now we did Diddy, y'all. Hold on. Diddy is kind of trending news. So let's rewind a little bit and see what the judge had to say. Okay. Did he do it? Did he not? Hey, if somebody gets diddled, and no one's around to hear the diddler diddling, did the diddle take place? Let's see.
Back then, they'd have bouts 25, 30, 40 rounds worth till nobody was standing and nobody could beat him. And Jack Johnson had a white wife. So people object.
This nigga talking about a boxer and a white wife now. I am so glad I had the foresight to fast forward a bit.
To him traveling around with his white wife and her entourage, and they just thought this was just horrible. So they created the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, to go get something that became the Mann Act, which you can see them using on Diddy, and they used it on R. Kelly. I'm not defending either one of them or persecuting them either or prosecuting, but that's what they were using. So what
I'll persecute him on behalf of the court of public opinion. Them some freak nasty ass Negroes.
Happens is Jack Johnson and his wife were going across Georgia to go to a seaport to go to France. And
okay, Judge, I get it. Thank you. You are a wealth of knowledge and information. You're teaching us about how the Federal Bureau of Investigation was partially started to prevent miscegenation and uphold anti-miscegenation laws. I get it, but we want to hear about the cosplaying chameleon known as Kamala Harris.
Prototype. But that's how Hoover got started. He was
now he's on Hoover.
Came into existence, and they
now I see why this is a 2-hour-long interview. Okay, this shit could have easily been 45 minutes.
He had made a career either certified public accountants or attorneys. Period in 1949. I guess they found out what.
God damn it, can we get to the 2000s, Judge? You in 1949 now. Can we get to more recent years?
Hoover was, but that's a concern for other people, and they lack altruism.
Wife situation as well. Barack Obama had a trans. Yeah, he had a trans nanny growing up. His mother was okay with. I didn't even.
Now we talking about transsexual nannies in the home of Barack Obama. Okay, god damn it, y'all. God damn it. Can we get to the topic at hand?
Capability to think on their own.
7 of his descendants who were U.S. presidents, relatives or descendants. So here's the way it breaks down.
Okay, you know what? I ain't even gonna hold you. It sounds like he is going to give some deep knowledge, though, about how all the presidents are low-key, high-key, distant cousins and related and shit. So I'm going to let him cook, but we got to keep this on topic. So let me, share with y'all some receipts you may not have known. Spoiler alert, on Friday is going down because I done found some exclusive footage of Kamala Harris's auntie. And Kamala Harris's auntie does not promote the same story of Kamala Harris being a black girl.
So looking ahead, Kamala Harris has also said that I'm a black woman who's got into the vice president post, but I will not be the last. And many are also saying that she will be the future president in 2024. Your take on that, ma'am? I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I have no comment.
Damn, wait a minute. Kamala wrote in her book that her Indian mommy was raising two proud black girls. This is Kamala's Indian mommy's sister, her auntie. If Kamala was really raised as a proud black girl, then why, when the interviewer dude says, hey, Kamala Harris, she says she's going to be the first black female president. What do you think about that? She said, I don't know, no comments. Oh, shit. I don't know, no comment. Guys, if anybody in my family was asked by a reporter, yo, so is Mike really an American Indian and a part of a tribe? And my family said, I don't know, no comment. Yeah, there's something strange going on.
My name is Javaris Johnson. I work in the oil and gas industry as a truck driver. I recently just did a consultation for my genealogy with Mike at Key Media Pro. It was awesome. A lot of great information. A lot of stuff I'm going to have to go back and digest because it was so much information, man. And it really helped me to get on the path to enrolling with my tribe and learning everything, man. And it's just a great and awesome experience. I encourage you guys, if you're curious, to go out, do your family tree, and connect with your ancestry.
Looking ahead, Kamala Harris has also said that I'm a black woman who's got into the vice president post, but I will not be the last. And many are also saying that she will be the future president in 2024. Your take on that, ma'am? I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I have no comment.
Oh, no. Remotely. But he had 7 of his descendants who were U.S. presidents, one who was a U.S. vice president, one who was governor of Alaska, several billionaires. And what you find is, if you look up Samuel Hinckley, they will note some of his more interesting modern relatives or descendants. So here's the way it breaks down. Lolo Soetoro.
This is Barack Obama, just so everyone's watching. That's Barack Obama's stepfather, who he was raised with for the first 8 years of his life.
Okay, well, the rest of his life afterwards, Barry Soetoro has an interesting situation. His mother, on his maternal side, his grandfather was first cousin to President George Herbert Walker Bush. So George Herbert Walker Bush, George Walker Bush, Dick Cheney, vice president, they're all cousins. Sarah Palin is a cousin. Barack Obama is a cousin. George Herbert Walker, who founds Halliburton, is Uncle Herbie to all of them. And interestingly, when he was running against John McCain's running partner was his cousin, Sarah Palin, who was governor of Alaska. Real unholy alliance, right? So other thing is
in 2024. Your take on that, ma'am? I don't know. I have no comment. She will be the future president in 2024. Your take on that, ma'am? I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I have no.
How to make a mean pot of greens. In fact, people used to ask me to make greens for them for Christmas. One year, I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bathtub.
Collard greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. You keep repeating the same old plantation bullshit, tired narrative we outgrew. Jokes on you. Collard greens in a bathtub, an image that's cheap and classless. Ooh.
You support reparations for black people.
I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna do something that's only gonna benefit black people. No.
Can't listen to the lies no more. You Reparation isn't working in our face to degrade our image. It's not us, it's you. It shows your level of ignorance, not ours. Now the joke's on you.
I have no comment. I don't know. I have no comment.
Hey, Auntie don't know nothing about Kamala being black, right? She don't know nothing. She said, I plead the fifth. No comment. I don't know nothing. Not a goddamn thing. I ain't even heard. I don't even know what you talk. I don't even know where you brought that up to me. I don't know. I don't know. But you know what? If the Indian man asked Kamala's auntie about some goop scoop, where to get some goop scoop, she'd have a referral for some goop scoop.
It's a line for the goop scoop, get it gone. It's a line for the goop scoop, take it home. You gotta get you some goop scoop and take it home. You gotta get you some goop scoop and get it gone. I need a big bag of goop scoop for my friends. Need a big bag of goop scoop for my mans. My mama called, said she wants some damn goop scoop. I said, damn mama, we ain't got no goop scoop. She said, take your ass up to go to goop scoop, Larry and them. Surrey and them, scary in them. I said, hurry up, bitch, you got some cherries in them, some berries in them, some berries in them. I said, mama, it don't come with no that in it. Your ass want to have a little cat in it. Fuck around, get a little piece of rat in it. This some goop scoop, mama, this ain't no, yeah.
For your take on that.
I don't know. I have no comment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have no comment.
Last 150 years have been supplying international
In which Black Beryl, this woman is her legitimate grandmother. Okay. And by the way, I want to say, because keeping up, looking at this Beryl, she in no way favors Donald Harris. Let's get a side by side of Beryl and Donald Harris. Like, what are we even speaking about? If you put this together, how are you getting Beryl from this woman and Oscar Harris? I don't see it. Now, again, genes can be funny, but then when you put him next to our white Iris, I go, okay, look at those squinty eyes here. I could see a little bit of a similarity here. He does seem to somewhat favor her. Again, now we're just believing our own eyes and asking the right questions. What we do know for a fact is that woman on the right, Iris Harris, is related to Kamala Harris, and we need answers, okay? We need answers.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition of
Sir,
that.
I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always identified as a Black woman. She went to a historically Black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe
think,
that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be.
Many know about slavery, but few discuss paper genocide. We did not all come from Africa, and most of us have Aboriginal roots that were stripped away due to reclassification and miseducation. As a Native Black American and a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. If you want to learn how to trace your genealogy and apply for tribal citizenship, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com to schedule a consultation.
I am not a slave, I was born to slide, I am not afraid. Hop about the K, oh yeah, free to God, they went out of state. I'm a child of God, I do not belong to the United States. Fuck Black history tell Uncle Sam he can catch a fade. I went to hell, I mean school, graduated at the top of my class. Still never thought I was over my peers. We did that time together 12 years. Ain't that some movie? I think that it is. They won't control me, I'm really a member. I traveled that road, I came back with the jewels from. When I pull up, they peep how the roof gone. We some dog killers, won't chew bones. Know we all spit on, we supreme. Somewhere I read a nigga had a dream.
You don't have to try to be something you're not. Oh, God, I can't stand this. Trying to be something I'm not? Trying to be proud of my African heritage? If that's being something I'm not, then fine.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois. My grandfather was a black from a long line of journeymen who lived in Connecticut since the establishment of the colonies. My father was a Bajan who came to this country a cabin boy in a merchant marina.
I know all of that, Mama.
Then know this. I am alive because of the blood of a people who never scraped or begged or apologized for what they were. They asked only one thing of this world: to be allowed to be. I gave you my grandmother's name, a woman who bore 9 children and educated them all. Who held off 6 white men with a shotgun when they tried to drag one of her sons off to jail for not knowing his place. And you had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
I was born black, I live black, and I'm gonna die probably because some cracker that knows I'm black better than you, nigga, is probably gonna put a bullet in the back of my head.
This is the remix. My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American. Making music would've thought I had help, but the Indians I know wanna be the chief they self.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, smash the like button on the way in. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. And if you've yet to trace your family heritage, schedule a consultation while we are still running the $75 promotion. We're going to continue following Candace Owens' coverage of Kamala Harris's genealogy. Apparently, Candace has now discovered some evidence pointing to Kamala's true grandmother being a white lady, potentially, allegedly. I mean, I'm just here to take a look at the receipts that Candace is presenting. Let's get on with the content.
So we left off interested in Vioris Cambridge Harris McPherson, okay? And this is a woman that we believe is Kamala's grandmother, or her mother, really. She looks so much like her. But anyways, her true grandmother, not Beryl, a woman who I believe looks a little too much like Kamala and has been rather conspicuously just left out of the family Jamaican heritage story. So I'm just going to show you the side-by-side of Kamala and Vioris. And we then learned, because someone pointed it out to us, that actually Vioris's birth name is Iris. I can't believe I missed this. I produced the birth certificate.
Hold on, wait a minute. Let's go back to that photo, shall we? Yeah, this is why they didn't want to tell us anything about this lady, because all it takes is a side-by-side photo and we see the same nose, or at least strikingly similar nose. We see the same squint in the eyes. We see the same lips. We see the same chin. This nose does not match. These lips do not match. That chin does not match. Oh Lord, I knew why they wanted to hide this white lady. I knew why they wanted to hide her from the world on some Drake shit, because all it takes is a side-by-side photo to see what's up. Our eyes don't lie to us, but Kamala does.
Name is Iris. I can't believe I missed this. I produced the birth certificate and obviously did not read it for details. But yes, if you look at her birth certificate again, it actually says in that second column that her birth name is Iris. Now that explains why whoever created her profile on Ancestry.com put Iris in parentheses. On that far side, it says Vioris Anita, and that's her baptismal name. As I've been going through all of these documents, I realized baptismal names are very important, or were at this time, because they then used them and pretended that it was their legal names on other documents. But yeah, so when we see that, and we go, okay, so we now have a grandma Iris. That's very interesting. We know that this woman was born in 1927 in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, and her last name was Cambridge. And I'm wondering, and I'm sure you're wondering, could she be the Miss Iris that Donald refers to so affectionately throughout his piece? He claims in that piece, by the way, that Miss Iris's ancestry is unknown to him, right? He also claims that that Iris that he mentions is his grandmother. So it would be Kamala's great-grandmother and not her grandmother, which I suspect she is. And I'm going to show you the extremely Black woman that we are shown a picture of, a picture that he claims he captured of Kamala.
Come on, y'all. Stop the cap. That looks like a photo taken with the nanny. That woman is looking off to the side like, I don't want to be here. What time does my shift end? Oh my God, that is the help, y'all. That is the help. Don't tell me Kamala Harris is trying to pass the help off as her biological grandmother. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen some shit like this.
Sitting on Miss Iris's lap. Now, I have received, by the way, a note from a woman who is in her 70s who swears that she knew this family and that that woman there worked for the family. As we work to get in touch with her, she's a bit older. Trust me, I am on it. I've reached out. I'm going to actually place a phone call later on today to try to see if she'll pick up her phone, if she's easier to connect with that way, to get to the bottom of whether or not she really does know this family. She claims that she worked for the family for so long, didn't want to leave, and that is in fact a picture of the help, which would be wild, absolutely wild, if we can get somebody to confirm that. What we do now know for a fact is that Iris Cambridge, so going back to, I'm going to have to start calling them like White Iris and Black Iris, like just because I think it's easier for you guys to know who I'm speaking about. So White Iris, who died in Broward County, we know for a fact now that she is related to Kamala Harris. And I'm going to tell you how we determine that fact. It is now undeniable. Because when Kamala Harris was effectively handed the torch from Biden after they staged an effective coup back in August, CNN couldn't help themselves and immediately ran an article, instantly reminding the world that Kamala's Black. She's Jamaican. Instantly, let's Blackify her immediately. Here is the article that they ran. And it essentially had a title like about her Jamaican roots or whatever. And embedded in the article, it was a man named Sherman Harris. And he was speaking about his second cousin, Kamala. I'm just going to read this to you. It says, 3.5 years ago, Sherman Harris gathered together a clutch of family and friends at his home on a hilltop here in rural Jamaica to watch his cousin step into history. As Kamala took the oath of office as vice president of the United States, the room erupted in screams and tears, he recalled. Quote, even talking to you now, I feel some sort of tears from my eyes too. You know, Sherman Harris.
Wait a minute. We've got confirmation that Sherman Harris is her second cousin by way of their own propaganda piece. Don't tell me Sherman Harris is a white man.
Harris, 59, said in an interview with CNN, it's like tears of joy. So later throughout that article, he claimed that Oscar Harris, that would be Kamala's grandfather, Donald Harris's father, and his father, Newton Harris, were brothers. So that would make Kamala his second cousin. Okay. Now, if my theory is correct, that would mean that he knew White Iris very well, because we know that White Iris and Oscar Harris were married until death did him part, until he died. Well, guess what we found? That same cousin Sherman Harris, who was featured in that CNN piece just from August. We were crawling through Facebook. We found his Facebook page, and he posted a sweet tribute to his aunt Iris, White Iris. It was a Facebook posting of White Iris's obituary. And beneath that obituary posting, he wrote this tribute to her. There it is. You can see the third one down says, Sherman Harris, rip auntie, you're never forgotten. Lasting memories of shared episodes. That is the exact same Sherman Harris pictured in the CNN article. And again, this was posted under the obituary of the Iris Harris that died in Broward County. So this confirms that Iris, the white Iris, is indeed related to Kamala and Donald Harris. If Sherman is telling the truth, this would make Iris her grandmother officially. Kamala.
Come on, y'all. Come on. Make it make sense. This woman is Hindu and Irish, wants to cosplay as a Native Black American for political advancement. But the whole time, she's totally disregarding and trying to sweep under the rug her European ancestry. Why, y'all? Why? They want us to think, oh, she light-skinned it like that because, you know, she's half Hindu, half, you know, African Jamaican. No, 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 no. She don't want to talk about that European ancestry. What is she ashamed of? A lot of us got some European ancestry. Hell, I've got some German ancestry. I mean, what is Kamala ashamed of? Oh, she's trying to grift and cosplay our culture, our community, so she has to hold fast to the lie. Got to keep the lie alive. Repeat a lie enough times and people will think it's the truth.
Kamala Harris must answer for this. She absolutely must answer this. You cannot be posting up pictures of you with a Black woman saying that it's your grandma, okay? You cannot do that. And then come to find out there was another woman who you look much more like, and we have all of the evidence in the world that she is your true grandmother. That is just, it is too wild. It is just too out of pocket. We are going to need answers to that. Because if what Sherman Harris, who was interviewed by CNN, is saying is true, then there is no room here. There's no situation in which Black Beryl, this woman, is her legitimate grandmother, okay? And by the way, I want to say, because keeping up, looking.
And again, another woman that looks like the help. Every time we see a photo of Kamala with an old, richly melanated woman, she looks like the help. She don't even smile. She don't even look. This don't look like a photo a grandma takes with her granddaughter. No. It looks like Kamala said, hey, I'm visiting housemaid. Come over here and take a photo with me real quick.
At this Beryl, she in no way favors Donald Harris. Let's get a side-by-side of Beryl and Donald Harris. Like, what are we even speaking about? If you put this together, how are you getting Beryl from this woman and Oscar Harris? I don't see it. Now, again, genes can be funny, but then when you put him next to our white Iris, I go, okay, look at those squinty eyes here. I could see a little bit of a similarity here. He does seem to somewhat favor her. Again, now we're just.
Southern Breeze says, hiding that the family having Black servants. Oh, it goes worse than that. Her father, her alleged father, Donald Harris, his father was a full-blooded Irish slave master who has a town in Jamaica named after him. Brownstown, I believe it's called. It's either Brownstown or Browns. I think it's Brownstown. Yes, Kamala literally descends from slave masters in Jamaica. The truth is much, much, much stranger than fiction.
Just believing our own eyes and asking the right questions. What we do know for a fact is that woman on the right, Iris Harris, is related to Kamala Harris, and we need answers, okay? We need answers. Now, also last week, we left you on a tidbit. We were searching for a Christopher Harris. Do you guys remember that? I'm going to briefly jog your memory here. Christopher Harris was at the time, anonymous person who signed off on Oscar Harris's death certificate. Now, we were just imagining, okay, we're looking for information on Donald. We know Oscar Harris was married to Iris, Vioris, whatever you want to call her. And I would just imagine that Donald would have been there by his father's side when he died, because when your father dies, you tend to be by their side. Well, I'm going to pull up that death certificate again. This is, again, Oscar Harris's death certificate. And you can see on the bottom there, number 16, if you go right there to the bottom, it says qualification, meaning the person filling this out. The qualification is that he is the son of Oscar Harris. And then it says something about the body being buried, and he signed it off. And we were going, okay, who is this Christopher Harris? Like, this would mean that Donald Harris has a brother. This means that this guy would be definitively be Kamala's uncle. Where is he in the world? Well, while we were able to locate Chris, he was also featured in the Kingston Gleaner. That has given us a lot of information, the newspaper, in an article that was dated back to June 24th, 1983, announcing the Council of Jamaicans in Ontario, Canada. I'm going to show you a picture, okay? See these pictures of these people. That one in the middle is Chris Harris. Presumably, that would be Oscar Harris's son that he had with Iris Vioris Harris, okay? It says in the bottom there, the newly formed Council of Jamaicans, and it tells you, again, from left to right, that you're looking at a man named Bromley Armstrong, and next to him is Bev Hayden, and that person who looks rather fair-skinned in the middle is Chris Harris.
Damn, Kamala, you ain't got to lie to kick it, Kamala. I know all of a sudden you want to come to the cookout, but you ain't got to lie to kick it. You ain't got to cosplay to kick it.
I find it rather off-putting that Donald Harris does not mention many of his siblings in his piece about his Jamaican heritage. It seems like he's continually leaving out the white people. That just makes me a little bit uncomfortable. I'd almost say it's racist. Just abandon an entire side of your family. Like, don't you find that quite weird that that piece so much focuses on introducing and discussing everyone who's Black, but you leave out your own siblings? We've thus far, by the way, been able to locate 2 other confirmed siblings. So these would be the siblings of Donald Harris, the children of Oscar Harris and Iris, our white Iris Harris, who died in Broward County. He doesn't mention them. Did Kamala have a relationship with them growing up? I don't know. And I want to be clear, we still cannot find much information about Donald Harris himself. We did find some old newspaper clippings of a Donald Harris, which we are working to confirm it's him, that was involved.
And as we watch Candace Owens and her viewership pick apart Kamala Harris's lies as it relates to her genealogy, as it relates to her heritage, I've got to promote and try to motivate, if I can, you all to look into your own genealogy with the same vigor that we're looking into Kamala's. We owe it to our ancestors. They put out a lot of false slave narratives, a lot of false, we all come from Africa theories. I mean, let's go ahead and take a deep dive into our family lineage. I'm here to help.
If you're looking to get genealogy consultation, I highly recommend Mike. You know, he was very thorough, prompt, very knowledgeable. Even taught me some stuff about the background of Indian ancestry and heritage that I didn't know. The biggest piece of it was he taught me how to pull records and really dig into those records to make sure that I have things to match up to be able to take back for my citizenship. So I really appreciate everything he does, and I highly recommend Mike as your genealogist.
Information about Donald Harris himself. We did find some old newspaper clippings of a Donald Harris, which we are working to confirm it's him, that was involved in a lot of plays, in theater, and in drama in Jamaica. And I'm going, okay, well, the piece that I read about him, he was constantly speaking about the farm and the lessons on the farm. It would be wild if he turned out to be another theater kid, because you know that I have had my fill of theater kids and them being put into positions of power, a la President Zelensky, Justin Trudeau, Emmanuel Macron. So I'm really hoping that this is not the right Donald Harris, but again, we're working to confirm it. Still cannot find his birth certificate. I still cannot find really anything else that would make him seem legitimate to me. Like I can't find Donald Harris, but we are still looking, we are still searching, and we're not going to stop. Now I'm going to take a quick pause here to thank one of our sponsors before we get into this next really interesting tidbit.
Yeah. And I'm going to take a quick pause to thank my sponsor, which is myself, okay? I sponsor myself, and my live viewing audience sponsors me as well by hitting the Cash App and the PayPal. I support you guys, and you support me in return. This is a symbiotic relationship, and I thank you guys for always showing up and showing out. Let's get back into the content.
About how he, worked 6 days a week, opened a hardware store, and worked in Jamaica through 2 fires that destroyed his business. He persevered and rebuilt to the mantra that you can destroy the tree, but the roots remain untouched. Talked about how him and his wife, Vaughn, love to travel around the world. Yes, there's a lot of stuff I'd like to speak to you guys about Vaughn. But first, I want to introduce Alves, because like I said, there's so much information. It's important to slow it down. Look at this third portion here, okay? Alves would want you to know that he was a Freemason.
They don't want you to remember this. You not no slave, you indigenous. Fuck how they painted them Indians. You went to war with the French and the British men. Quite frankly, you was kings, Merovingians. They took the women and men, made them prisoners. Raised up the children to worship their images. Set up a lab to the genes and they mixed them. And this shit get way deeper than your pigment.